Tokusatsu, taking the form of many shows including Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, and Metal Heroes. And today, a group of fans come together to review it for you as Toku Secrets.
Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of the Toku Secrets podcast presented by AnimeSecrets.org. I am your host, Nathan Desa, from the co-host of the Toku Secrets podcast. Today we are going to be continuing our treasure hunt in our Gokaiger review series. We are going to be covering episodes 28 through 38. Now, this is going to be another really big content-filled review, and because all these episodes are going to have some pretty big events happening in them, and I can't possibly hope to cover all these by myself. So, if my two crewmates will please talk to the audience, tell them who you guys are. Go ahead, guys.
So he's lying. He's perfectly capable of doing this all on his own and doesn't need us for anything. But to make him feel better, hi, I'm Rizwan.
And
Appreciate
I
the vote of
am
confidence.
Anthony Denas.
No,
Okay.
you're Kai Hikari. Or
Okay, guy.
yeah.
In my head, I am.
Absolutely.
I could pull it off if I decide to get his cosplay one day.
Oh my god.
Well, absolutely. You could.
I want to see
You already did. You already did Shane from Ninja Storm, so
True, I did. I was debating on whether or not I should do either that or like a Yu-Gi-Oh character, but I wasn't sure, so I was like,
that actually reminds me of some of this thought I once had back in the day, where I was thinking like I would make photos of where I would get like where I would take photos of us and like some of our friends. Obviously, we don't have any. Obviously, none of the girls that we podcast with are into Sentai that much, but I thought like I would take photos of some of us in Anime Secrets and like make us into Sentai characters. And when I was going to do the Gokaigers, I was going to have Riz be red. I was going to be blue. And I specifically remember when I was running this idea by you, Anthony, I asked like I should make you silver. So that's perfect.
I'll definitely be in silver because like I don't see myself as Dawn. I don't hate Dawn, but it's like I don't see myself as his personality. Like I'm more of a guy character, honestly, because of how nostalgic he is about Sentai. So I'm like, okay, I do see myself in guy the most.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, wait, did you want to say something, Riz?
No, I'm good to go. Let's get going.
There's only one thing to talk about with the news of Tokusatsu, the Ranot section. This is literally this just in. I was most of the time whenever I get Tokusatsu news, I just go to the Super Sentai and Kamen Rider subreddits. The only big thing that caught my eye was that, and again, now keep in mind these are rumors, so you don't want to take them completely seriously, but so far this website that has been leaking these rumors has been pretty accurate. They've released some information about the colors for the upcoming Sentai, Dawn Brothers. Apparently, it's going to be we're going to be back to like normal colors. We're going to have red, yellow, black, blue, and pink. Okay, maybe that's not entirely normal since in Power Rangers it's normal. I guess you could consider it black since there was a Black Ranger in Mighty Morphin, but in Sentai it's usually green. But what's weird is that there's these names that they have next to them. Heat is red. Oni, I'm not sure what they mean by Oni because that can mean a bunch of different things. For yellow, a dog, black, monkey blue, and pheasant pink. I'm guessing from what they've hinted at, they might be trying to imply that everyone except red might be based on an animal or something. kind of like the Zyuohger characters. Everyone except what was Geo Eagle's name? Yamato, I think.
Yamato.
Yeah, it's Yamato.
Yeah, that's but the only other thing I know is that apparently the only other thing that it says on this little thread is that the dog, monkey, and pheasant characters are supposed to be CGI, which does kind of gel with something that we spoke about previously, with Sentai switching to a CGI only format. So yeah, I mean, I guess it's news that we're going to get red, yellow, black, blue, and pink, but there's a lot of curious rumors about this Sentai. I mean, I guess it's going to be animal themed, but
And I also heard that they three of the characters are going to be CGI, but I think that all of them will get suits, like real suits, to transform into.
yeah, that's what it says in the rumor thread that I found.
Hey,
It says,
Nate,
what's that?
did you say, what did you say for red again? Repeat that?
Peach.
Okay, that's what I'm reading too. I don't
Yeah,
understand, because I understand dog, monkey, and pheasant are animals. Oni, in my definition, I think means demon or something.
yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. Because Oni is demon, because that's literally what they're called in Demon Slayer, or Onis in Japanese.
Right. So it's like yokai, demon, ogre. So this is like, a monster type thing. And then Pete, is that like a freaking the fruit?
That's the only thing I can think of. That'll be interesting.
Your guess is as good as mine.
I mean, okay, so like it what? I don't understand.
Well, I mean, December is right around the corner, so hopefully, although it'll be December by the time this video is posted. So hopefully we'll have scanned more about what the Sentai is going to look like by then. But I'm intrigued.
It is interesting though that they picked this Sentai to have that color scheme, given it will be the 30th anniversary for Zio Ranger, and that's their color scheme as well.
Yeah.
So to me, that's pretty cool.
Other than that, there's not much. I mean, now that the Sentai has been announced, it's it's pretty slow as far as the news is concerned until we get more scans and like actual photos released of what the toys are going to look like and what the well, they have mentioned what based on some of the toy lines that were announced, they have said some of the weapons that they're going to use, but it's pretty standard stuff, like blasters and swords that they use. So that's not really major news because what Sentai team doesn't come with like blasters as their main sidearm at this point.
Right.
So yeah, it's pretty slow news, but hopefully we'll have some more on Dawn Brothers very soon. Um, but did you guys have anything in the news that you want to talk about?
I just hope we finally get back combining weapons, because we haven't had that in Jesus. I'm trying to think, was Tokuja the last set that to do combining
Well,
weapons?
that's the most recent Sentai I've seen all the way through, and if that's the case, and they did combine all their weapons, so wow, they
Yeah, I
really
haven't
haven't
seen the other
they
Sentai
haven't
after that.
done it
So.
since Tokuger. Wow, that's
Yeah,
bad. The combined Team Bazooka is like a
because
iconic
they
thing for
did they didn't
Sentai.
do it in Go Busters. I know they did it in Kyoryuger, obviously. Um,
They didn't have weapons to combine in Go Busters.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They were just their sidearms, and then they had they had a weapon that they would all use together, but it wasn't like a combining weapon.
Mm-hmm. Did they have? Did they all have the same type of weapons? And I mean, so far with what I'm watching with Dino Fury, I know that they didn't have any individual weapons to combine in Ryu Soldier.
No, it was just the armor pieces that they had. That was it.
Did they have anything in Knee Ninja?
Nope, it's just the
No, they had the
swords.
swords.
Wow. Can we bring that back then? I can't believe it. That they really abandoned that gimmick.
It's not a gimmick. It's
What do you mean?
It's not a gimmick to have like the weapons combined. It's a motif, I would say. It's a trope.
Yeah.
It's a trope. It's like
Because
Yeah.
gimmick implies it's a money grab, but I mean, yeah, it's cool for the toys to have that, but also, to me, that's not really much of a money grab. More so like just a staple, or it was a staple, I guess.
Like every team needs their power blaster,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it, whether it be called the Vortex Blaster or the Unilaser, whatever. But anyway,
I'm going back on it now. Yeah, Tokyuja was literally the last Sentai to do combining weapons.
wow, that is sad. I should have enjoyed that when I was watching Tokuger.
Imagination.
Okay, I literally just walked right into that.
What'd you
It's
expect?
funny. I was talking to some of our newer fans that have been listening to Tokyo Secrets lately, and for whatever reason, we were really big on doing the Imagination gimmick in our first couple episodes for the Tokyo review, and dude, they are loving it.
Oh wow!
So
that's good to know.
So yeah, that's why it's on my thing to say that again, because it was something I've been throwing out lately when I talk to those guys.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I'm good on Dranas. If y'all have anything else cool, if not, let's get going.
Let's get this show on the road.
Yep.
And make it extremely stowy, as always.
All right, so we're going to do a brief recap with what happened when we were last with the Gokaigers. We now have a sixth Gokaiger, Guy Ikari. He's an young adult from Earth who he's a super fan of Super Sentai, and he has the ability to transform into Gokai Silver. He can fuse the multiple Ranger keys together. And he's able to fuse all 6 Ranger keys to create gold mode. We talked about how we aren't exactly fond of that in the previous video. There was an episode where Bosco is revealed to be able to forcibly take the grand powers from Sentai Rangers against their will. And other than that, the 3 big things that happen is that the Gokaigers have obtained 3 new grand powers since the last one. They received the grand power from Gingaman, and they also got the Black Knight Ranger key during that process, which means that Bosco still has 9 Ranger keys. They received it from Go-Go 5 and Hurricaneer. Sorry about that. So I can't remember how many they have now, but let's just say that they're making progress at least.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we're going to begin with episode 28, Wings Are Eternal. This is a tribute episode to Jetman, my favorite Sentai, as I think I've made clear on this show multiple times. Jetman was not adapted into a Power Ranger season, so this is probably the first tribute episode we're getting to. Pardon me. This is the first tribute episode we're getting to a Sentai that was not adapted into Power Rangers. Although, funnily enough, I don't think enough people a lot of people know this. Jetman was almost adapted into Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It was really popular in Japan, like super popular, and Saban was hoping to kind of capitalize on the popularity of it, but ultimately, when it came down to deciding between the birds and the dinosaurs, he obviously thought that dinosaurs would be more appealing to kids, so he went with
Which he was
what'd you
definitely
say?
right on that. I say he
Yeah.
was definitely right on that because I have a a 3-year-old nephew who loves dinosaurs, so yeah.
Mhm. I love Jetman, but I think he made the right choice because just knowing some of the things about Jetman, it might not have translated the best, but we'll talk about that later, some other time. Sorry about that. So anyway, as the episode begins, we're shown two people. There's a mysterious man and a woman. They're playing poker in a bar. The man is having a couple of drinks. He beats the woman in the bar, and he apparently brings a deal that he made with her if he wins. He says that he doesn't like the alcohol there at the bar, so he wants to go somewhere else. Then we cut to the Gokaigers. They fight off a big Zangyak attack. But then as they're traveling back, it's revealed that the Zangyak has hired a bounty hunter to go after them. This bounty hunter's name is Kaido, and his design looks way too much like Boba Fett or the Mandalorian. So he's probably
Does now that I think about it. Wow.
yeah. So yeah, you might want to look out, Mando, because you might have another guy that's going to challenge you for the dark saber. Um. Anyway, um, the Gokaigers meet up with Kyoto. Now, we find out in a flashback that Marvelous encountered Kyoto before during his time as a red pirate, and Kyoto pretty much wiped the floor with him, like absolutely just massacred him to the point where he was so bored that he intentionally stabbed himself in the chest just to give himself a weak point because he thought that would just make it much more interesting battling Marvelous again. So Marvelous is pretty scared, and the Gokai just try to battle Kaido, but he pretty much walks right through them. And the
It was
Gokai
brutal.
yeah, absolutely. The Gokaigers are unsure of what to do, but then when they're wondering how to defeat Kaido, Navi gives them an accidental clue on how to unlock on a next grand power. Navi's clue is that there will be a bird of fire to defeat an enemy, and the Gokaigers both realize that this clue will help them defeat Kaido, and Guy, being a big Sentai fan, concludes that the prediction is about Jetman. Um, a really interesting bit is that he goes on to talk about what some of the Jetman have done since they retired. Now, I'm not going to go into much detail about who does what. But if you've watched Jetman like I do, everything that they've gone on to do makes sense. He says that one is the president of an online vegetable company. Another one is a singing idol, and then two of them are married. Which again, if you've seen Jetman, then you know who's who. Um, so the Gokaigers believe that that finding the Jetman's grand power will help them defeat Kaido. So they go out searching for the Jetman. Now, while they're out searching, they split up into groups of two. They encounter this dude on a motorcycle. He's the same guy that beat the woman at the bar.
Same. Sorry.
Yeah, he beat her at poker. Didn't literally beat her up. He's not that kind of guy, I assure you. Um, he he criticizes Marvelous for second guessing himself and literally says that Marvelous seems like a massive downgrade from other Sentai Reds. he beats up both Joe and Marvelous and takes their Mobirates before driving off. And when Marvelous asks him who he is, and the one big thing to note is that even though the main 5 Gokaigers can see him, Guy can't for some reason. But anyway, Marvelous asks
that at the end the episode, in case y'all wondering.
Yeah. Marvelous asks him who he is, and he calls him, and he reveals that his name is Guy Yuki. Now we're going to keep referring to him as Yuki for the rest of this episode because we don't want to confuse him with Guy. So, anyway, Marvelous attempts to confront Yuki, demanding that he give him his Mobirates back. And the thing is that Guy reveals that Yuki was also a Jetman in the past. When he was talking about, because he only mentioned 4 Jetmen and there were 5 of them. So Marvelous realizes that Yuki is a former Jetman. He confronts him and demands that he give him his Mobirates back, but Yuki says that he's afraid and he can't fight if he's afraid, and he has to confront his weakness if he's going to be able to obtain the Jetman's grand power. So Marvelous chases him, and as he does, Yuki's body just vanishes into thin air, and Marvelous finds himself at a grave that has been dedicated to Yuki. As it turns out that Yuki actually died, and this actually confirms a really highly debated topic regarding the ending of Jetman, and I don't want to go into detail because I'm the only one that's seen Jetman as of the recording of this video, so I don't want to spoil it for my 2 friends here. But let me just say that there's something within the Jetman ending that was highly debated for many years, and this is actually an episode that confirmed a certain side. But anyway, but long story short, Guy Yuki, who was formerly Black Condor from Jetman, he is dead. And the other Jetman frequently visit his grave. They constantly leave stuff at his grave because the Jetman really cared about each other. Like, they had this really deep bond. And the Gokaigers discover that Yuki wants to prevent the other Jetman from getting involved because he doesn't want them to get back to fighting, because they're starting to kind of get over the fact that he's dead and they're starting to move on with their lives, and he wants it to stay that way. So Yuki confronts the Zanyak himself, and he's even able to use his cross changer to transform into Black Condor. And since he's dead, he doesn't need his Ranger Key. So the Gokaigers go and watch, and Marvelous realizes that Marvelous, seeing that Yuki is determined to continue to fight even when he's dead, regains his fighting spirit. And Yuki gives Marvelous and Joe their Mobirates back, and pretty much gives the Gokaigers his approval, which gives them the Jetman Grand Power. The Gokaigers, of course, Gokai change into Jetman. They use their Grand Power. And their Grand Power was something that was seen in Jetman before. It's not something that they use with Gokaio. What they do is that when they're all Jetman, they are able to fly, and they all combine together to form a giant bird made out of fire a phoenix, to strike enemies. And this was an attack that we saw at the very end of Jetman during their final battle against their villains, which were called the Vyram. So they defeat Kiaido, and as the episode ends, the Gokaigers take Yuki to a bench, and that bench is an important bench, by the way. I don't want to give spoilers for my 2 friends here, but okay. The bench is
what happened to him, so
yeah. That bench is an important bench, but they bring him there. He admires seeing the sky and reminds Marvelous that he has to protect it now. And then he bids farewell and he goes back to the afterlife. Guy is all upset because he couldn't see him, but he thinks that it might be because he's the only one that's from Earth, so therefore he can't see Yuki, which is a weird explanation, but it actually does kind of make sense. And the episode ends with Yuki returning to the bar to play poker with the woman. It turns out that the woman is actually God, and a pretty attractive God, if I'll say so myself. And he plays her a song on his saxophone as the episode ends. So I'm gonna say this. I gotta, I've always been like I had actually been watching Jetman while I was watching Gokaiger as it aired, and I actually finished watching Jetman a couple of months before this episode aired, and I remember being really hyped up for this episode because, I saw that because, not only is Jetman my favorite Sentai, but Guy Yuki, Black Condor, he's my favorite Sentai Ranger ever. Um, like better than anybody else. Like I just think that he is a highly complex character. I've never seen a character undergo more development as a person. He's not, and that isn't to say that he's like an amazing person or anything. Like he's a very morally gray person, and he especially starts off as a jerk at the beginning of the series, believe me. But just the changes that he undergoes, and I really wish our friend Patrick was here in this review because I honestly think that he could back me up with this because he's seen Jetman too, and when I saw that he was going to be the Sentai Ranger to come back, I was really excited, and I remember being really hyped to see this episode, and when it came on, it satisfied all my everything I was hoping for. Like it really does continue Guy's story with the Jetman because I don't want to spoil too much. It's just the way that it shows how his relationship with his fellow Jetman has evolved. Like even after all these years, because this is like almost 20 years after Jetman came. Was it 20? Yeah, I think. After he's been a Jetman, just this whole thing with him going out of his way to make sure that the Gokaigers don't get involved with the Jetman. I think that was good. So I love this episode more for the guy Yuki prospect of it. With Marvelous, it's fine. I do like the whole story of it's a pretty standard run of the mill thing with it. One of the Gokaigers is dealing with some uncertainty, and a Sentai Ranger helps them out. I think it was pretty good with Marvelous. Pretty well handled. I love the design of Kiaido. Like I said, he looks like a Mandalorian, and that's not a bad thing. Yeah, the only thing I can really complain about this episode is that they don't play the Jetman theme during the battle. Although, funnily enough, there's one point where when they're looking for the Jetman, you can hear a guy, Gokai Silver Guy, singing the Jetman theme song because you can literally hear him singing like Jetto, Jetto, Jettoman. So, yeah, that's my only complaint. This is probably my second favorite tribute episode. Maybe my third because I love the Shinkenger and Hurricaneger episodes, but this episode really hit close to me since Jetman is my favorite Sentai. So yeah, yeah, this is a very deep episode for me, and I absolutely love it. What did you guys think?
Let me go first. For me, I actually really enjoyed this episode. There were like a few instances where I'm like, okay, well actually makes sense, or like I'm just like, oh well, that's pretty cool they did that. I especially like that the Bounty Hunter was not actually a part of Zodiac per se. He was kind of his own person. He just happened to like be hired on by the Zodiac to be like, hey, you guys want me to catch these guys and kill them for you? I got you. And what I liked most about it is that he was confrontational with the Zodiac as well, because he was like, I'm just here for the bag. I'm not really here to work for y'all, work for y'all. So I'll do what I want. Okay, so mind your business.
Mm-hmm.
And my theory about why our guy, could not see Yuki was maybe because only beings that aren't from Earth can see him, but like Earthlings, like normal people, cannot see him like at all. Even someone like guy who was like Gokai Silver, who literally had his powers given him by three dead Rangers, could not see him. It's got to be something otherworldly. That's the reason why he can't see them.
Yeah, that's a pretty good take. What did you have anything else, Anthony? I'm sorry.
Other than that, no, I had no issue with the episode, and I also like the fact that how badass this dude is. He just basically stabbed himself in the chest and was like, I mean, my weak spot is right here. I mean, if you have the guts to take me down and hit me in my weak spot, try it. I'm waiting for the challenge. That to me basically means that you're not be messed with, and you go by what you mean. That's the type of like villain. Either you're a villain or a hero, whoever. You doing that signifies that you are not to be messed with, or do not be taken lightly. But that's my thoughts.
Yeah. What did you think, Riz?
I enjoyed Jetman as the tribute episode. It doesn't rate super high in my top tribute episodes, mainly because I have never seen Jetman, and there's a lot of oddities I'm really curious about. Mainly the real reason Guy couldn't see him. I don't understand why he wouldn't see him. I don't really buy into the he's from Earth, they're not from Earth thing as the reason why. Um, um, there has to be something more to it than that we just don't know about. Besides that, really good tribute. I liked that they threw in the ghost thing for Yuki. That was pretty well done, and yeah, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it.
I guess the only other thing regarding this episode is that does this episode make you feel like you want to see Jetman?
I mean, yeah, I'm making plans to watch it at some point soon.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna watch
Okay.
it too.
You
Yeah,
never watched it, Anthony?
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
Okay.
Like I guess I've watched like bits and pieces of clips of stuff of it, but I've never watched it from start to finish. Like I never binged the entire like show. If that makes
Right.
sense.
The only other thing I'll say is that seeing Guy transform into Jet Black Condor one last time with this cross changer. I mean, I would have loved to see him do the actual thing where it's like cross changer, but just pressing it. That was awesome. Um, but yeah, and we'll be doing Jetman pretty soon after we review two other Sentais. So I hope you guys will I hope you guys will enjoy seeing it then. Um, but anyway, we're gonna move on to the next episode. This episode is called the Abar Quick Changing New Combination. Um, this is actually an Abba Ranger tribute episode. And I'm gonna give it to Anthony to talk about. So take it away, Anthony.
Alrighty. I actually like this episode. This is a really good episode. I want to definitely dive into this one the most. Okay, so in this episode, I believe Guy was actually kind of curious about I'm in this episode because he was like, oh, like is I'm like, this princess or whoever you had to go, rescue her and save her. Why is she part of this crew? She seems nice and sweet and kind. Why would you have her on your team? And it's like, and Joe was just like, dude, you have absolutely no idea who I'm is or what she's been through. So don't even try. And he's just confused. He's like, okay. And I know that Barzorg sends a new action commander to basically go around and steal people's happiness. It's pretty diabolical, but in Saturday cartoon evilly, but it works. A wedding was going on while the Gokaigers were there, and of course the action commander, his name is Dial. He used his staff, which also he also earlier used as like a broom earlier, was able to take away the happiness from the bride that was getting married that day. It was in the form of like hearts, so it just sucked all the hearts out of I guess her body, and she just I guess collapsed. Don't know exactly what it does to the person. I'm assuming it just makes them either miserable or unconscious, and then they wake up and they're miserable. We aren't sure how that works. Um, we know that the action commander Dial can actually grow on his own because the dial on his stomach, he can turn it and he can go from like giant. He can go to giant size instantly. And so the Gokaigers instantly use their mechs to combat Dial, and they're doing pretty good at first, but then all of a sudden, Dial shrinks, and he's like the size of basically a bug almost. He flies around. He gets into Guy's mech and like knocks him out for a quick bit, and then he attacks. Dial attacks the Gokaigers in Guy's mech in Gozujin, and Guy eventually does wake up and he's able to fight him off a bit before the see this is a really fun part right here. When Dial eventually like leaves his Guy's cockpit, he goes to the Gokaigers and the Gokaigers instantly shoot him with their guns, and they're just like, oh, we're just gonna shoot you, we don't even care, like and it's like, dude, like this is y'all ship. And so they're chasing them around the entire time. And I remember he made a hole in the Gokai Galleon. Gokai O, I mean. Gokai Galleon's a ship, but Gokai O is a form. This is a mech form. So he puts a hole in the Gokai O before escaping, and I know that Dawn needs to make repairs to both the ship and the mech, well, since they're both the same thing. So he enlists the help of Joe, Luca, and Marvelous, but Guy and I'm are just on standby basically, because they're the only two that aren't actually doing anything, revolve around the repairs. So later on, we actually no, during the fight we actually do see the former Abara Ranger, Abara Blue, Yukito Sanjo, and his wife, who was also like one of the allies / wife of him, Emery, and they were just looking and like they were like wondering like why aren't they using their like the Abara why aren't they using the their ultimate power correctly, or like why aren't they using it like the way it's supposed to be used?
Yeah, to get some. Sorry to cut in, Anthony. I'm sorry.
No, you go. No, you're good. You're good.
Just to clarify, the Abba Ranger Grand Power is Guy's. It allows him to transform his mech into Gojujin, but they're hinting that there's more to it. And one other thing I want to say, I've seen Aba Ranger all the way through, and I know Anthony has too. I think
I have.
maybe you disagree with me, Anthony, but did you ever think that those two would get married? Because I
You know
don't
what,
think
dude?
they had.
I honestly did not expect that at all. It's
I
so
did
weird.
not
It's like,
see.
I thought I was the only one. I was like, bro, like them two getting married. It's not bad. It just doesn't make sense in the long line. Like even when I watched the ending, I'm just like, they got married? What?
Yeah,
Okay.
I love Aba Ranger, but honestly, aside from Asuka, that's Abar Black, and his wife, I don't really remember that many romantic storylines.
No, it was just those two. I remember like a girl, like a little boy had a crush on Ronru, but that was it. Like, I was like, okay.
Yeah, and then maybe that like little one night stand that Abar Killer had with the adult version of that little girl villain. I can't remember what her name was, but yeah,
I
that.
believe it was starts with it was I don't remember it was something because I know I just talked about it on Twitter.
Well, it's okay. We'll get to that later. But
Yeah.
point is, this is a really out of nowhere romance where I mean, I love Aba Ranger, but this romance makes absolutely no sense. But it's funny.
It's funny. Doesn't make
Yeah.
sense, but it's
So I'll give it a pass.
yeah.
Anyway, sorry, Anthony. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. I think they look cute together now because like she looks more mature than from what she looked like during the show is way
Oh
different
yeah,
from what she looks now. She looks way better now. Not to say that she
absolutely.
looks
Yeah.
ugly or anything, but I just think she looks better now. My personal opinion. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Oh yeah. So I'm ask guy for help, but what she does is that she tells him like, "Oh, let's get married," and he's just like, "Huh? Wait, what?"
Wait, what?
And so yeah, so I'm asked guy like we should get like I think we should get married, and he just kind of like looking like what, and so what ends up happening is that they have this big wedding. It's I'm and Guy, and you know they're about to basically get married or whatever. Guy calls Luca, and he's just like, "What am I supposed to do? Like I have no idea what I'm doing." And she just like, you know, just treat her well and just be, you know, just give her kindness and happiness and don't hurt her, you know, because I don't know, because that's my sister, and I will definitely kick your ass if you hurt her. Okay, so don't do
Yep, I
anything.
will kill you.
Yeah, I'll kill you. And so, Dial, the action commander, he sneaks in. He's just like, "Oh, people are getting happy. Let me go ahead and steal that happiness from them real quick." And what ends up happening is that while Guy is actually holding Im turns around with him, and she shoots her Gokai gun at Dial, just tricking him into thinking that oh, well, you know, it was all a trap to get him to uh, appear and whatnot. What actually is funny about this particular part is that they do the cutaway gag where they do the cutaway thing where like at the end of every episode of Abba Ranger, you cannot skip Abba Ranger completely. You have to watch the entire episode, especially the at the end credits end. Because if you don't, you're gonna miss important details about something about an episode at the end, or just some kind of funny gag at the end. So
Yeah, Aba Ranger had post credit scenes before Marvel did.
basically, yes.
Basically.
Like we are not even joking. Like, because sometimes, like, I had to go back and like watch one or two episodes back because I'm like, oh snap, I gotta go back because there's more stuff at the end. So yeah,
The
that was
big
my
part of this is that like they would have like a fourth wall breaking thing where like the episode will end where there'll be like this awkward moment and then like two characters are like, uh-oh, Alvar Blue's in a situation. What is he gonna do? Find out after this. And in this
basically.
case, in Gokaiger's like, uh-oh, Guy and it looks like Guy and I am are gonna get married. What's gonna happen? Find out after these messages.
Yeah, pretty much. And what's funny is that Yukito, the former Abari Blue from Power Ranger, and his wife were actually the ones that were doing the gag this time. Like they were the ones doing like the asking the question of what's gonna happen next time. Oh yeah, let's find out at these credits. And what was funny though was that like they literally when I was the version I was watching literally had like a commercial playing afterwards. So I was like, oh well, they actually had a commercial for this. It was just kind of funny that it happened like that. Um, so while that's what's going on, Guy ends up getting injured by Dial because Dial ended up firing at Guy while he was about to transform. And so I'm by herself goes out and tries to like hunt the Dial down and hijinks, of course, hijinks ensues because she does multiple disguises. She dresses as a police officer, as a nurse, as a whole bunch of other like crazy characters. She kind of reminded me. It's almost like she was doing a sort of like a light tribute to Ranmaru because Ranmaru did the same thing in one episode where she was fighting against the monster, but she couldn't transform, so she had to use disguises to kind of trick the monster and kind of be funny with him. It was kind
That's
of funny,
actually
like
a common thing that Sentai women do in a lot of Sentai, not just Ronru. Like it's a common
right,
gimmick.
right. But I feel like particularly in this instance because it felt like oh this is the Power Ranger tribute episode. I thought this was like somewhat a tribute to her. I guess if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's appropriate.
Oh yeah, yeah. If it is, I mean, if it's like a trope that they do this all the time in Sentai, because I've only seen a majority of it. I haven't seen every Sentai, so I'm only going by the Sentai I've seen off the top of my head, and I don't remember most of the women doing that. So my mistake, and my apologies if I miss
That's
some stuff.
fine.
And I do know that she eventually gets the staff away from the monster. She breaks it, and all the happiness goes back to the people who were hurt by this monster. Let's see. The Gokaigers arrive. They also meet the former bar at Blue Yukito, and he introduced himself and his wife. And this is kind of funny. Like, oh yeah, guy was like, oh, I know you. You're a Bar Blue, and you, lady, I don't know who you are. And I know that Yukito like comments on I'm saying that wow, you had some really Abare fighting skills right there. Abare, which means rampage in Japanese, but like she's basically had like the rampaging style of fighting when it comes to this monster, and he was impressed by it. Um, I do know that he tells the Gokaigers that Mikoto Nakadai, which was the Abara killer of Abara Rangers, failed to mention that the Abara Rangers key can also be used by Gokaido. And so I'm being the kind of the odd one out because she can't. She's the sixth. She's technically the sixth one that can't use the Abara Ranger keys because they're only meant for 5 Rangers, and so there's 6 of them, and Guy has the Abara Killer as the 6th Ranger. So it's like, how can she become part of this transformation if she doesn't have a key? So Amir Emery comes in and she says, "Oh, you can have this one. This is Abara Pink," which if you've watched Abara Ranger, you know that that Abara Pink is not what you think. So, um, when Yukito and his wife takes cover, they go ahead and just transform to the Abara Rangers and Abara Pink. Thus, when Abara when I'm changing the Abara Pink, she's giving a suit that doesn't like look like a legit ranger suit. It's just like a costume, and she has like a helmet with like goggles on it, so it's not even like a legit Power Ranger suit. Which
They
is
give
what
some.
in the episode of actually no, it was 2 episodes of Power Ranger that she got put on the suit in a Power Ranger. Um,
They give some context for the people back home. Like if you've never seen this, like um, the Most of you probably have watched Power Rangers. There's an episode of SPD where Boom fantasizes about being the Orange Ranger, and and he makes his own homemade Orange Ranger suit to battle. That's the equivalent of this happening, where he says, "Hey, I got this Orange Ranger key," and then he gives it to someone, and then they transform, and he ends up in that suit.
Yeah.
So, hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, and I also forgot. It's not even a really important detail, but it's something that's the reason why the monster is going on and stealing people's happiness. The Emperor Walls Gill the Emperor's son, I should say, ends up getting sick. He has like a cold or whatever, so he's like sneezing like crazy or whatever. But apparently, taking people's happiness from the entire planet cures his sickness easily. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I don't know why they decided to do that, but it was like, okay, like we'll give you an idea of why the monster's attacking now. It's because of that
Anthony,
reason.
there's a simple explanation for this.
You know what? I don't want to hear that. No, there is no explanation for this. No, it doesn't make sense at all. But anyway,
There's a very simple explanation for all this.
so the Gokaigers in their Power Rangers forms go on a rampage and attack the monster. They defeat it. Of course, they use their final wave, and Guy uses his Gokai finisher. Using the gold mode. And then actually, now that I think about it, like Isara ends up getting sick too, so she's kind of like about to sneeze too. Before, she's about to faint when she's about to fire and make the monster grow. Dial, of course, fights Gokaio and Gozujin, and the Gokaigers use the Power Ranger keys to activate the greater power of the Power Rangers by switching robot arms. So Gozujin's arms now go to Gokaio's arms, replacing Joe and Dawn's arms into his own. I mean, honestly, this was not my favorite form right here because it's just arm swapping. It really didn't appeal to me at all. I mean,
we'll talk about that in a second, actually, because I got something to say at the end of that. So just
same.
save that.
Oh,
Sorry.
I definitely know you're gonna be upset about this. So I get it.
Yeah.
So of course they use Gokaio finishes the dial monster off, and Yukito and his wife are watching the sidelines, saying, "Oh, they did a good job rampaging." And it was like, "Yeah, they sure did, darling. Let's go home." And later, Guy tells the others how I managed to put her plan into motion. He took pictures of the entire thing of her wearing her little disguises. She's embarrassed beyond belief, and the episode ends.
So, what did you think, Anthony?
Overall, this was a very good episode. Like, I was laughing majority of the episode because it was just so freaking funny. I especially love the part where freaking Marvelous and the Code were just like shooting the monster while he was like in their cockpit. They just didn't care. They was like, okay, get out. This is bye. Yeah. And like I said, the whole thing with Walls Gill getting sick and using happiness to make himself better, it just didn't make much sense to me in the context of things. So I was like, okay, I get it, but it doesn't make sense.
Again, very simple explanation.
No.
It's far too complex for us to understand.
Rangers, there's a very simple explanation for this. Oh no, Rita's attacking, can't talk now, bye.
Bye.
I'm gonna say this, like, as far as this episode is good, but it also has some things I would complain about. I like this episode. As far as an I-Him character episode, it works. It's really good. I don't know if I would say that it works as a tribute episode, though, because I don't think Yukito and Emery do nearly as much as they could have in this episode. The tribute episode elements feel very rushed in this episode. I mean, Yukito only shows up to tell them about it at the very last minute. And before that, if you don't count the whole like, how is Guy going to get out of this situation moment? He only had one scene in the entire episode before that. You could probably count the number of lines that these guys have in this episode on one hand. Uh, you know, I think that this episode would have been better if I look at this as just an episode revolving around him and like how she's a capable fighter and just looking at it from a character episode. The episode is fine; it's perfect, and I can. But as a tribute episode, it's not nearly as good. I think that you could have done, maybe this episode just has no idea what it wants to be. Maybe it wants to be both an I Him episode and a Ava Ranger tribute episode, and just got into this huge identity crisis. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I love the episode. I like I Am, great character. I like what they did with her here, but you didn't have to shoehorn in all these Ava Ranger tribute moments. And I guess I get it. They decided to do that because they wanted this episode to be the introduction to Goju Gokaio, and I'll talk about my thoughts on that later after I let Riz give his thoughts on this. But yeah, this episode was good. Just didn't need the Aba Ranger elements to it.
I'm gonna start off by playing devil's advocate with you, Nate, on the reason why they might not have been as involved in the episode as they could have been for the veteran Sentai team.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of times when you're looking at your production, you might have sketched out this whole episode, write it out months in advance, and then as you get closer, schedule conflicts may arise, and you can't consolidate that to like have a new plan. So the new plan has to be, well, we have a little bit of footage of them, but not enough to cover a whole episode. So let's split it between the Ava Ranger and Aham tribute episode. And if you think about it from that perspective, I'm not mad about it because, and I know you're not mad at it per se, but like also you weren't as pleased with it. But if you're looking at it from a production value where maybe they weren't available as much as they thought they would be, or maybe they were not getting a good deal on, compensation for being there or anything. I mean, there's a lot of factors that go into play from a production standpoint that can explain the short time that these two are on stage. And they're not related to just the story writers being uncreative. It's more to do with technical production value stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know they can't control that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing happened with a lot of our Megaforce and Ninja Steel crossovers and all that. Like, they had a list of what they wanted to do and who they want to bring back, but then they had to look at the logistics of, well, Ranger X couldn't make it out because of so and so reason, so they had to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
As a tribute episode, I thought it was pretty well done as a person who's never seen Ava Ranger because we do get a glimpse at who the Rangers are. It's enough to entice you to say, "Oh, okay, these guys are cool." It's hilarious with the I don't know her name, the false pink Ava Ranger.
Emery,
yeah. She's hilarious, and I think she made the episode much better by even being there for a little bit of time that she was there.
she was funny, definitely.
Yes, I enjoyed it from a comedic standpoint, and so I've seen their tribute episode, and I've seen the Lost in Translation episode on Dino Thunder back in the day. So I kind of have a little idea of how Opera Ranger is, but as somebody who's never seen it, and these are the only things I have seen is the Dino Thunder episode and this. My impression might be incorrect, but my impression of it was that Opera Ranger is more of a comedy rather than something serious or something more Sentai-like instead of a parody.
Aba Ranger is weird. It has there's a lot of moments where it goes dark, but it does. but it does have a lot of episodes where it's very lighthearted. It's kind of a mix between the two of them, if that makes sense.
Like for the beginning of it, it's mostly it's like kind of comedic, but it has like some dark elements into it, like slowly into it. But like most of it is like happy go lucky at times, but like it just depends on which set of episodes you watch. Because like you'll have like maybe 5, 6 episodes that are all serious, and the next few episodes are more comedic. So it depends on how you watch it.
And it balances out perfectly. That's why it's probably the best dinosaur Sentai.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. You on that definitely.
I haven't even seen Ryu Soldier, and I don't care. Abba Ranger's better than it. I really don't care.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. Like Resource is boring in my personal opinion.
The only other thing I'm gonna. Did you have anything else you want to say, Riz? I'm sorry.
No, because you're gonna cover the Zord thing, so that's cool.
Okay. Goju Gokaiger. It sucks. It sucks. Okay. You know, I like this is supposed to be the like this is the combination that we always look forward to, where the Sixth Ranger's mech combines with the main mech, and it sucks. All you do is just take off Gokai's arms. You take off both Megazord's arms, and then you give the main Megazord the Sixth Ranger's mech's arms. And okay, at least with like Gokai's arms, you can make the case. Okay, those other machines are stored in the Gokai galleons. In the Gokai galleon, so I guess they just kind of like vanish and they go back inside the galleon. Where does Go Jujin's body go? Like, is it just standing there? Just helplessly?
It's floating in the sky, and you don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe Back to the Future.
that's just silly. And it's not just this, but like as someone who collects mech toys, I can't stand combination mechs where you have where parts where like a certain Zords or certain parts are, just discarded and not used. Because like I own Gokaio right now, and maybe one day I'll own Gojujin. Let's say that I want to make Goju Gokaio and display that on the shelf. Well, then what am I supposed to do with Gojujin's body? That makes no sense. I mean, it's absolutely lazy. Like, can't you be a little bit more creative? Like, I don't know, you could, you know, have Gojujin split up into components and then like, have it like become armor for Gokaio. Or you know what? Even if you can't come up with something, at the very least you could detach Gokaio's arms and legs and just have all those Gokai machines go into the galleon and then just simply have Gojujin split up into the components and then it all becomes like armor for the Gokai galleon. I'm okay with just doing that, but just to take Gojujin's body and just throw it out into space and have the arms just come, it's lazy and it's stupid and I don't like it. And funnily enough, this is what we're only going to, spoiler alert, but I really don't care. We're only going to see Goju Gokaio one more time for the rest of the show. So even the producers didn't care about this combination. And that says something because normally whenever this type of combination mech is introduced, it becomes like the default go-to mech that the Rangers use. Because like in Shinkenger, when they introduced the idea of like the Gold Rangers mech and the main one Shinkino combining. It was called Dakai Shinkino. I'm pretty sure it was called the Claw Armor Megazord in Power Ranger Samurai. Once they introduced that, that was like the default go-to Megazord that they did. Doesn't happen here. So it's bad when even the producers and writers didn't have them regularly use this combination on the show. So I just hate it. It's all downhill for the mechs as far as it's concerned here, guys. I mean, it's really sad when like Gokaiger's best mechs are like its auxiliary formations, like with Maji Dragon and Furai Maru. And we'll be talking about another combination soon.
Question: what are your thoughts on the mech combination of Dragon Caesar and the original Megazord?
Well,
Because
I
you don't use the entire Dragon Zord in that combination either. It kind of goes missing for parts of it, you know?
I know. Well, for that though, with the toy though, it allowed you to. Now it's kind of difficult with the legacy toys like I have, but the toy, to my knowledge, did have like parts where you could attach the tail and the chest plate. But and again, that like. But the thing is that was older Sentai, so I can kind of forgive it because, especially at that time, because that was a point when combination mechs were actually more of a newer thing. Like, funnily enough, we're actually going to talk about when combination mechs started kind of indirectly in the next episode. But you know, I'm okay with like the older mechs and like not using all the parts, but this was 2011 when combination mechs are like part and parcel of Sentai at this point. That's just not acceptable now, if you know what I mean.
True.
Rizwan?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I was just thinking that through to see, like, what I thought about what you're saying. But no, I agree that, back then, this is like a newer concept because I think it started like a couple of seasons before this, Zero and Zero, like maybe one or two before.
Yeah.
So, no, it was definitely really new at the time. So it makes sense. I get it.
Did you want to add anything else, or?
No, I think I said my piece.
Yeah, I did too.
Okay.
Alonzi.
Sorry about that. The Goju Gokaiger just really frustrates me, so I just had to get that out. But thankfully, you guys seem to agree with me, so I think you can understand.
And that is the end of Nate's rants.
Yeah.
For now.
So the
For
next
now, it'll
episode,
come back.
we're going to be covering another. I'm going to be covering this one. Episode 30. It's called "Just a Lone Friend Soul." This episode is a tribute episode to Choju Sentai Live Man. Live Man is yet another Sentai that was not adapted into Power Rangers. In fact, Live Man is actually a Showa era Sentai. So we're going way back this time, guys. And I'm the only one who's seen Live Man here, so I'm going to comment on it. I'm going to give a basic overview of it. So, plus it's also a Joe episode, so my two concepts kind of double dip here. As the episode begins, the Gokaigers, it's a pretty normal tribute episode when it begins. Navi gives them a new clue, warning the Gokaigers about a lion on a skateboard, which Guy discovers is about Live Man, since Live Man's Yellow Ranger was called Yellow Lion, and one of his traits as a character was that he loved to ride on his skateboard. So the Gokaigers go searching for people on skateboards to see if they're part of Live Man, which of course doesn't work. Joe and I am while they're out searching, they encounter a guy whose name is also Joe. It's spelled differently though, and his last name is O'Hara, so we're just going to call him O'Hara. They encounter him while they are talking to the guy. They run into this boxing. Joe and I him fight off the monster before they can get the boxer, during which the monster drops this disc that they discover holds the blueprints for the robotic model of Barizorg. And Joe, thinking that this could be an opportunity to turn his friend back into human, asks O'Hara to analyze the disc to see if he can restore him, and he agrees to do so. And the other Gokaigers try to track down try to track down Zion because it's discovered that he's trying to kidnap people with all these great combat skills and everything, because that's what he does. Like, he takes people with like in Sid's case, he was a really good swordsman, so he took Sid and turned him into Bari Zorg, and now Bari Zorg is a really good fighter, so that he's trying to do the same with people who are like skilled in martial arts or, you know, boxing or other forms of combat. Now, after analyzing the disc, O'Hara discovers that there's no way to turn Bari Zorg back, and Joe falls into depression. Like, he becomes really depressed. And then O'Hara, after he sees how depressed Joe is, he tells Joe that he should continue to fight. He tells Joe this story of how some of his friends, and by the way, O'Hara is a scientist, and he graduated from a school called Academia, which is the place where he works as a scientist, and he reveals that 3 of his friends gave up their humanity to become evil, and they were trying to take over Earth, and ultimately at the end he was unable to change any of them back. Now, that's a little misleading, and I'll go into some details why without giving away spoilers, but he ultimately tells Joe that even if he can't change Sid back, he should at least try to save Sid's soul. And Joe gets this new motivation, and he decides to leave. But before he does, he discovers that O'Hara is actually the former Yellow Lion from Liveman. So he arrives to help the Gokaigers. The Gokaigers fight off Zion using Liveman before Joe takes him out personally with Sid's personal attack in a really badass scene, I'm gonna add. When Zion grows, the Gokaigers use Liveman's Grand Power. Liveman's Grand Power allows Gokaio to transform into Super Live Robo. Now, Super Live Robo is a really big, significant mech because there were so Liveman had Liveman had started off with 3 Rangers, red, blue, and yellow, and then there were green and black Rangers that joined later. Both those individual teams had their mechs, like red, blue, and green. Like red, blue, and yellow had their mech, Live Robo, and then black and green had their one Live Boxer. This was, and this kind of confirms what Riz and I were talking about last episode. This was the first mech to be made, like Super Live Robo is Live Robo and Live Boxer combined together. So that was the first mech to ever be made where 2 giant robots would combine with each other. So that's the significance. They defeat Zion, and then the episode ends with Joe promising that while he might not be able to change Sid back, he'll at least be able to save his soul, and the episode ends. So I'm going to say this episode was about as a perfect tribute to Liveman as you possibly could get. Liveman is an amazing Sentai. You know, people call it the best season. Like, it's literally the peak of the Showa era, because this was the last Sentai of the Showa era, and it really ended on a high note. It's about as amazing as everybody says that it is. I would honestly put it on my must-see Sentai list. But as far as this does for tributing to Liveman, I think it's perfect and I think Joe's whole story arc with Sid was a perfect way to be a tribute to Liveman, because the whole story of Liveman is that the main 3 villains are, and I apologize for spoilers. I'm going to try to keep the spoilers to a minimum, but the main 3 villains of Liveman are friends of the 3 Liveman, so they have to like fight their friends, and And it's a similar case that Joe is in, where his best friend is now his enemy. So I thought it was perfect. Now, like I said, O'Hara's explanation of how he was unable to turn their friends back is a little misleading because given what happens with the guy given what happened to the guy that was actually his friend, not going to go into much detail, but just you'll know if you've seen Live Man. But overall, I think it was pretty good. It was pretty standard tribute episode, but I still love it. And now I did watch this episode originally when I hadn't seen Live Man, but watching it again after seeing it, it's really awesome. And I'll just leave it at that. What did you guys think of it?
I actually liked the episode. As for someone who actually never watched Live Man, it actually was really good. Like kind of get like a glimpse of what this character has been through, as far as like him dealing with the fact that he had to literally fight his friends or like or whatever happened with Live Man, and it just goes to show you that like there will be times where you have to deal with hard fact situations where like you can't just up and fix something, fix a friend or fix like um whoever you're friends with, with the snap of a finger. Sometimes you may have to fight your friend and then ultimately have to either kill them or like incapacitate them so they won't have to hurt nobody else. It's just one of those facts that you just have to deal with that.
Rizwan?
So, given I don't really know too much about this Sentai, it's harder for me to have a real good opinion on it because, at least with like Opera Ranger or anything that came before, they were based on PR. So, at least I kind of had an idea of like, okay, so I know Donathan has 5 people. I know what the mechs look like. I kind of know how their powers work, etc. Here, I don't know much about Live Man at all, except for the fact that they're live. So, yeah, it's hard for me to comment on the goodness of the tribute episode. But it was interesting. I wouldn't mind watching it one day, especially if you're going to call it like one of the most you must watch this ones. I would definitely, add it for that reason alone.
Yeah, we'll
Um,
probably review it here on Toku Secrets soon.
yeah, but for a historical perspective, I think this is a good one to watch. Simply because it's the first time we see robots combining together make a bigger robot, and that's a concept that has gone on all throughout the franchise ever since then.
Mm-hmm.
So whoever made the gamble on this idea back then was a genius.
Thank you,
Indeed.
Hirohisa Soda.
But that's all my comments.
Were you going to say something, Anthony?
No, my comments have all been said already.
All right, cool. We're going to move on to episode 31, Crash Secret Operations. This is a two-part episode dedicated to O-Ranger, which was adapted into Power Rangers Zeo. And Rizwan, you haven't been able to cover an episode yet, so take this one away.
All right. So we're going to be talking about the O-Ranger tribute episode today. Well, so the episode begins with Bosco, and he is shown using the key clone for the Wolzard Fire Ranger. And for the Zero back home that don't know what that Ranger is, that is the Crimson Wolf Ranger in Mystic Force. I think that's the name of it in Mystic Force.
Wolf Warrior.
Wolf Warrior. Okay. Um, and he is using the key clone to attack the Earth Defense Force headquarters, which is the military organization behind Sainsman, which I know nothing about because I've never seen Sainsman.
It's just a standard military force that
Yeah, that's what I figured.
men happen to work for. Nothing
Yeah.
that unique.
Right. So I mean, I figured that was the case for it. It didn't seem anything beyond that. And the key clone does attack a former Sainsman. We don't see the face, but it's definitely a male. implying that we're looking at either Red Dragon, Black Griffin, or Blue Pegasus. And Bosco does succeed in stealing the Sainsman's ground power from this unidentified Sainsman. So that's bad. Bosco's gaining some steam here. He's getting under grand power. Meanwhile, the UAOH, which is the military organization of O-Ranger. Wow, these guys all have military things back in the day. That's cool. O-Ranger, as you may or may not know, is the Power Ranger Zeo adaptation in America. So in this, at a high level, O-Ranger is more about like there's a government organization that tasked the O-Rangers with protecting the world, and the military officials in UAOH has seen that the Earth Defense Force headquarters has been attacked, and another Super Sentai power has been taken and destroyed. So they decided to take matters into their hands and say, well, we're not going to look for the pirates anymore. We're going to do something ourselves. And they form a plan to take out Bosco. Shifting over to the Gokai Galleon, our great friends have begun another treasure hunt where Navi is just yelling incoherently, at least from the perspective of us as the audience, and then the Gokai Rangers who don't really know their history and the legacy they come from. They just hear Navi yelling, ah, ah. So they're thinking, well, I guess we should go to places where people would scream because that's what Navi's doing right now. I don't understand Navi one bit. We're going to come back to what Navi's actually saying later on, or if you want to figure it out from things we've already talked about, you probably could. But we will talk about this again in a second. So, Nate, you're going to say something?
No, I was just saying, even Guy couldn't understand what Navi was trying to say.
Yeah, that was scary. Guy normally knows right away, man. Guy's like the man. But I guess even the great scholars of our history will have a gap or two here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So while doing this, the Gokaigers encounter Momo, who is the former O-Pink, and was also one of the two people who met at the UAOH headquarters to hatch the plan to eliminate Bosco. And Momo tells them, hey, look, I have the O-Ranger Grand Power, and I would like to give it to y'all. But at the same time, the former O-Red, Goro Hosino, who is the captain now, he's also offering Bosco the Grand Power in exchange for the Zanyak's Gigant Horse flagship blueprint so that they can attack it in the future. And Bosco is very intrigued by this, and they're having the discussions to figure it out. Back to Momo. Momo offered him this grand power to the Gokaigers, but it's not for free. Nothing in life is ever for free. Especially when you're a pirate and you're trying to steal it, and you have to work to steal it. So Momo tells them, hey, you're going to have to do a bunch of favors for me to obtain the O-Ranger power. And this includes stuff like getting a back massage, getting premier meals, and other just really making the Gokaigers work in menial tasks, which is not something that I think they excel in. But they're doing it with a straight face, and they're not saying a word because they know it's the only way they currently know of to get the O-Ranger Grand Power, which they need for their amazing treasure hunt. So the captain, O-Red, is confronting Bosco, where at the same time, the Gokaigers start to figure out that Momo's not really being upfront, and she's just trying to distract him for some unknown reason. And the Gokaigers and her discuss and figure out, oh, so O-Ranger's gonna be giving a grand power to Bosco, and they're like, well, what the hell are we doing then? How do we stop this? But come to find out, Goro is not actually gonna give over the grand power that easily. he had hatched a plan to rig the warehouse that they're going to meet in with bombs and try to kill Bosco that way. And then Bosco survives the bombs, and instead Goro tries to chain him up with Sally, but that doesn't work because Bosco summons 9 of his keys. Which, guess what? Now he has Signalman, Deca Master, Deca Swan, Maji Mother, Wolzard Fire, Zuban, Rio, Melee, him, and Sinkin Red. Hi, I'm Sinkin Red, sorry. Interesting tangent I'm going to take for a quick second, because I've been curious about this ever since I watched it again. Explain Zuban and Sentai.
Zuban is sort of like, okay, so in the Sentai of Bokinger, they are basically treasure hunters, but they're actually searching for what is known as precious. Precious are basically like these very dangerous artifacts that like have some kind of special power that they can either destroy the world or it could do something that could create catastrophe or like just anything. It depends on what it is. Zubon technically is one because he's just he's a sword that turns into the form you see before you, and he kind of talks like a Pokemon because he only says his name Zubon, 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 Zubon over and again.
Yeah, that was interesting to me because I saw in a later episode when they do use the Zubon power, that they just say Zubon over and over again. I was just kind of like, are they memeing or just what it did? Because the American version didn't do all that. It was a Sentinel Knight.
That's all he can say. His name.
Okay. Got you. Thank you. So, sorry for that detour, but I just had to know what the heck was up with Zubon. That made no sense to me when I was watching. So the plan to have Goro destroy Bosco fails. He's not eliminated. Momo realizes this and tries to get the Gokaigers to arrange their power, but in true marvelous fashion, he can't just take the easy road to just do it. And he says, "No, I don't want your grand power. I'm gonna get it in my way, and it's the only way. The pirate was the life, and you're just handing it over to me. It's not cool. So be ready. I'm gonna take it from you." Um. So Goro gets cornered. Bosco tries to steal the Ranger Grand Power. Gokaigers arrive, doing the amazing, always like as things are looking really dire and bad. The Gokaigers just start firing their guns and walk over with the epic walk, which I love so much. And they stop Bosco from stealing the Grand Powers. And Momo helps Goro out with his injuries while the Gokaigers figure out how to fight Bosco, and Bosco has sent out his Ranger keys that I mentioned above to fight them. And during the battle, Zuban and Wolzord grow, and Guy fights them off with Godzilla, while the primary 5 Gokaigers use a Ranger to fight off the other Ranger clone keys. And it seems that by doing all this, Goro and Momo have granted the Gokaigers the Go Ranger Grand Power, and they don't get to use it right yet, but we'll talk about that later. As the Ranger Key clones are defeated, of course, Sally will try to retrieve them, but Guy has already retrieved 2 and shoots her down, allowing the Gokaigers to retrieve the other 9. So at this point, we have retrieved, I think, 11 more Ranger keys. If I'm doing the math correctly here. Nate, spot check me here. Am I right?
It was about 9 this time, I think. Yeah, it was 9.
Okay, I miscounted by 2. Cool. It's 9 more Ranger keys. That's a great plus for the Gokaigers because now they have the ability to be one step closer to the great power, the great treasure. Sorry. So I think at this point, Bosco's run out of Ranger Key clones to send because he can't have anything else left, can he? The 6 Rangers are gone. The special heroes are gone, and the what's the other group called? There's 3 groups in the third one also in mind. The Bankai heroes, I think they're called.
Oh, you mean those things that Sally summons?
The what?
Are we talking about the same thing? The what am I thinking? The creatures that Sally summons from his stomach.
Oh
Which one?
yeah. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, I
Oh,
think he's
okay.
out of Ranger Kids at this point. He has nothing left. There's no way. He's dried until a year or 2 from now when Go Busters comes out and he's like, oh wait, now I can steal the Go Busters and make them into keys and then use them to fight Marvelous. Oh wait, I'm already dead. Except not. Spoilers, not really.
Nope.
um. So yeah, he's out of keys, and Bosco tells Marvelous that he's been also gathering grand powers, and I think he tells him which ones he has, but I don't remember which ones they have. Oh, he has the Sainsman, Flashman, and Maskman, which are some of the older Sentais from prior Z Ranger. So
Showa era Sentais.
what?
Showa era Sentais.
Yeah, so Bosco and Marvelous discuss, and Bosco tells him keep getting more grand powers so Bosco can steal them all at one convenient time and just move on. And he walks away with Sally, and Marvelous screams in a great rage of fury because he's realized that while he might have gotten the Ranger keys, he's losing ground on the grand power race. And so they got to step up their game. And
But wait a minute.
that,
You mean a villain actually has a legitimate reason to keep the Rangers alive, even though he could actually kill them? Never thought I'd see that.
Right.
hey, it's a real thing. It just happens, you know.
Yeah. For the first time, it actually makes sense for a villain to keep the Rangers alive.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that was episode 31. We're going to hold off on commentary and final grading until we finish episode 32, which
Mhm.
I will also cover. So episode 32 is entitled One Power. And this is going to be a sequel to the episode 31, obviously, because there's stuff unresolved and we got to figure out how to resolve it. In this episode, it's going to be more Dawn centric rather than Ranger centric. However, the Rangers that we discussed before, Goro and Momo, are still around a little bit. So, as the episode begins, Goro and Momo help the Gokais out with their injuries, and Goro tells them that if you can combine your powers, you can use the O-Ranger Grand Power. And not many people really understand that in the moment, but they'll figure it out. Things to note: Guy's arm is broken from when he was fighting, so he can't fight. Marvelous, Zoe, and Luca are training to try and get better to get ready for next time we gotta fight Bosco. And Dawn is working on a new weapon that could potentially help destroy Bosco once and for all. Um, but when Dawn's not working on the weapon, he's still cooking dinners for the Gokaigers because that's how Dawn be. So he's gone to the grocery store and he meets a kid who is training to be on a soccer team. And he's having a really bad time. He's pretty upset because he failed to make the team, but in his mind, he did the best he could, and he's gonna keep on trying until he gets it. And end scene there. Dawn gets the idea of okay, let's take this second cylinder that we have just in the lab, and I'm gonna attach it to the Gokai gun to give it more power. For those that don't understand what I mean, the second cylinder is the cylinder that they use in the um loading their sword or the gun with getting ready for the final strike. So they'll load that
That's the Gokai keys.
with the Gokai keys. And that way they can do the final strike and, you know, do the enemy in. However, adding a second cylinder and additional Sentai key should give a little boost to the gun in theory, right? So I mean, hey, why not try it? And Dawn, this episode really made me like Dawn a lot more than I did before. It just, I think it's because we finally gave him a valid episode. This is the first time he's really given the center of attention where he's not a goofball. He's actually trying to contribute. He's making a weapon. He's showing a skill. He's showing his worth to the group outside of cooking their meals and outside of being the clumsy guy in the field who falls down holding guns and fires like an idiot. Um, because at certain points we have to wonder why is Don the Gokai Green? Couldn't it get anyone better? But so instead of like talking around a point, let's get to it. So Don is starting to get nervous about like how he can't get the weapons built, and he's telling them that he needs to build this to help the team out. And the Gokaigers are very confident that he can do this, though they do all know that prior to this, Don has never created a weapon. He's only ever fixed the existing Gokai arsenal of weapons. Um, so Don has a really big task against him because now he has to not only learn how to make a weapon, he's got to make one powerful enough to take out Bosco and anyone else that decides to be a threat to them. So Damaris at the same time is being a jackass and sends out a new action commander named Sealdon. And his arm allows him to provide a shield that can block any Gokaiser attack, including Dawn's powered up Gokai double cylinder gun thing. Which is a bummer because Dawn worked so hard on the weapon and it didn't do the job because this guy has this shield that you just can't get around. Dawn feels like giving up. He goes back to the soccer field, sees the kid, and the kid's telling him, "Hey, I tried soccer. I suck at soccer. I can't do it." And Dawn encourages him, saying, "No, you must keep going. You can't give up." And he actually helps him practice playing soccer. And I mean, you guys are probably thinking, why would Dawn help a kid play soccer when he's literally trying to make a brand new weapon, Mark II, because Mark 1 failed? And the answer is Dawn needed a confidence boost. And Dawn seeing this kid improve playing soccer while they're practicing together gave Dawn the confidence to go back and say, okay, we got to redo this again. And I got to get it right this time because we have to do it. And so the boy tells him, like, yeah, well, I'll keep working hard at it. And Dawn says, yeah, I'm going to work hard on it too. So Dawn goes back to the Gokaigers and he tells them, look, for this weapon to be built better, I need the cylinders from your personal weapons. So not just stuff that's in storage that's like a loose part or a spare part. No, he needs actual arsenal weapons that are used every day, day in, day out. And the risk here is if he takes the cylinders, the Gokais can't use their traditional weapons to fight. They're literally going to lose part of how they do combat. And Don's getting really nervous. He's like saying, well, I understand you're not going to. What's that? I thought I heard one of y'all say something.
No.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
good. You're explaining it good.
Okay, cool. Carrying on. The risk is I lost my train of thought, so I'm going to just restate some of this again. Don's concern is by taking the cylinders from the Gokaids, he's disabling them from using weapons in combat. But Marvelous is just like, dude, we all trust you. We all believe in you. Go kick ass. Make us the weapons we need because we need you to do this. And he hands him the gun and the sword, and the others hand him their weapons, including Guy's I don't know what the weapon's name is.
Yokai Spear.
Thank you. Wow, that was easier than I thought. Why didn't I think of that? Gokai Spear. How hard is it? It looks like a spear. Gokai Sword, Gokai Gun. It makes sense. So while Dawn is working with the new cylinders to build a better weapon, the Zoniac attack the Gokai Galleon, and the Gokaigers must go fight them without their weapons. Luckily, and I'm gonna trigger you two, and I'm so sorry, but these guys don't need to hold on to their weapons because they can turn into Geki Ranger and they can fight without weapons.
Oh my god, not this.
And this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is why Gokaiger will always do better.
Yeah. No
Damn
comments.
you, Megafool.
So while they're fighting using the Geki Ranger powers, Dawn continues working on the weapon with Guy. I don't know why Guy didn't go down. Oh wait, because Guy's armor is broken. Right, I'm an idiot. Carrying on. So Guy gives him inspiration, saying, "You know, this weapon looks a lot like the Ranger's old bazooka thing." And Dawn's like, "No, you're crazy. What are you talking about? This looks nothing like it." Oh wait, you're right. It does. What am I smoking? And so Dawn gets inspired by what Goro and Momo told him earlier in the episode, that when you combine your powers, you can activate our grand power. So Dawn grabs the 5 primary Ranger keys and inserts them on the bazooka to create the Gokai Galleon Buster. And this thing is basically a bazooka that looks like the Gokai Galleon, and it has 5 key slots for the cylinders, 1 on the top, and then 2 on one side, 2 on the other side. And when you load the keys in, the 4 keys on each side collectively will pop to the top to line up with the key that goes at the top of the thing. So you have a line of keys going down the Galleon Buster weapon, and it can use it to fire. So as things are going, Guy and, well, not Guy, Dawn comes down with the Buster, gives it a Marvelous, and says, "Go to town on this." And they load it up, and they use it to get through Sealed on Sealed. Huh, that's why they call it Sealed on, because he has a big ass Sealed. Got it, carrying on. You know, they're not really creative with like these names. They're just like Sealed on because he has Sealed. Meanwhile, I'm here thinking it's a Pokemon. So so as the episode ends, the Gokaigers celebrate the fact that Dawn has come through. He's created a new weapon. Marvelous is all like, "Bruh, you're not gonna celebrate yet. You gotta go make us all new weapons because, well, we don't have our swords and guns anymore, and that's a problem. I like my gun. You can't leave me without my gun. Get to work, Dawn, right now. No, right now. No cake." So the episode ends. Dawn goes back, sees the kid, and the kid reveals he's made the team as a backup, and he's really excited about this. And he says, "Look, I'm gonna keep working hard, and next time I'm gonna get promoted to a starting position." And Dawn thanks him for helping him regain the spirit he'd lost through his lost confidence. And this is where the episode ends. So, gentlemen, may I get your thoughts, please?
Yeah, I thought this was pretty good. I'm not a big fan of O Ranger. I Now, to be fair, a lot of the problems I have with it were beyond its control because O Ranger had a lot of behind the scenes tumult that kind of hurt it. But as far as a tribute episode, it's fine. Riz, I can hear a little bit of echo on me coming out on your end.
Hold up. How's
Sorry,
now?
Yeah, okay, that's better. So I'm not a big fan of O Ranger, but I think as far as the tribute episode is concerned, I think it's fine. I probably like this episode a little bit more, just just with how Bosco works. Because I remember when I watched this for the first time when you know when Gokaiger was airing. I remember actually like really being a little like, oh my god, when Bosco's monster form was revealed. Um, that's an awesome moment. Like it really feels like because I'm now kind of intrigued to see how the Gokaigers will defeat Bosco because he seems like a really powerful villain. Since I mean he broke Guy's arm without even trying, so that part I liked. I think the battle with the Ranger Key clones was good. The Gokaigers definitely had to earn those Ranger Keys. Um, yeah, the Gokai Galleon Buster um, second part, it's fine. I think it's a good Dawn episode. I'm glad that he. Pardon me. I'm glad that he was able to, create a weapon. It's all pretty standard. I mean, I'm these were some pretty solid episodes. I don't want to say that they were amazing, but they were pretty good from what I've seen. Anthony.
Yeah, I definitely enjoyed this two parter. Especially like the fact that Goro, which was Ored, is still like he. I feel like he probably like in his younger days when I did watch O Ranger, he would do something like this because he's just that much of a risk taker because he's like he feels like it's his responsibility to like you know do whatever necessary to defeat the enemy and this is classic Goro. Um, I especially like the fact that Dawn was able to create some weapons for everybody to use. Um, I do like the fact that he is also like he's very relatable because people have always have like these like doubts about their abilities of how they do things about the team and blah blah blah. So it was nice that he was able to like, overcome that. And I also want to add that like it's not like really a big deal to bring this up, but like it's a funny note. Whenever like Dawn was hitting Guy was kind of doing my best dance moves as he was hitting him because at one moment he was kind of doing the thriller like, and then another time he was doing like the swirl, and then he was over. He would like have his hand on his crotch and like have his hand open. I think it was the second time he did it. I can't remember, but it was like my favorite dance.
What about you, Riz? What did you think?
So for this episode, pair, I enjoyed the Bosco stuff because I always enjoy seeing Bosco and Marvelous interact. It's greatness. So that's a pretty standard answer. But the thing that I liked most was the Dawn centricness of this in a way, like I said earlier, Don's not really comedic here. He's more focused. He has a purpose. He's doing something besides cooking and doing errand works and just taking crap from the entire team. He's being a real asset, being a person building their weapons for them. So I give this a pretty good rating just because Dawn finally gets some much needed love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on this one?
Mm-hmm.
Onwards.
All right, we're gonna be. I'm gonna be taking over now. We're gonna be looking at episode 33 called "It's a Hero." Um, this is the tribute episode for Gosei Sentai Die Ranger. Um, Now, Die Ranger is kind of weird with Power Rangers because It's technically been adapted, but but it was adapted in a really weird way. The suit for its sixth Ranger, Kiba Ranger, was used for the White Mighty Morphin Ranger. Their mechs were used for the Thunder Zords in Mighty Morphin. And there was some other elements that were brought in Power Rangers too, the Henshin device, the Aura Changer, was used for Mike's Magna Defender Morpher in Lost Galaxy. Plus, there were also rumors that they were going to use the main 5 Ranger suits uh, in Power Rangers Lost Galaxy for I don't know, during the Lost Galaxy saga, there was some rumors going around that they were originally going to bring up a story about ancient Power Rangers that used the Quasar Sabers 3,000 years ago, and they were going to use the Die Ranger suits for those Rangers, which would have been cool, by the way. But that, of course, never happened.
Probably may not approve being left out of all the fun.
Oh, Lord. And the only other one was that they took the suit for the main villain, and he was used for Master Org in Power Rangers Wild Force. Pardon me, but
Wait,
that.
Master Org's suit comes from Die Ranger?
Mm-hmm.
I never knew that.
Yeah, so Die Ranger is all over the place in Power Rangers.
Mhm.
But anyway, so this is a guy-focused episode. As the episode begins, Guy is fully recovered from his broken arm, and he's really high-spirited. He's eager to get back, so he starts helping the Gokaigers, cleaning everything, and trying to do all this work. And he goes out with Don and Luca to do some grocery shopping, but then they get attacked by a Zanya called Zakura, which is like I guess the best way to define this monster is, you ever seen that Mighty Morphin episode, Food Fight, Pudgy Pig? Pretty much the same monster. Not a pig base, but it's a monster that can eat anything. So during the battle, Guy loses his Gokai Cellular, like it gets knocked away and then it gets eaten by the monster. And Guy gets all depressed because he can't transform anymore. So the other Gokaigers are trying to track down Sakura, and I'm going to talk about that element again in a little bit. Guy is, sulking and just feeling all sorry for himself, and he encounters Rio, who is the former Ryu Ranger from Die Ranger. And Rio takes Guy to his personal restaurant where he makes gyoza. It was established in Die Ranger that he had a dream to become the best gyoza chef in the world. Guy continues to feel depressed, but Ryu tells Guy that he shouldn't be worried about that. He should be worried about what's really important. And later on, there's this big, event where Rio is serving his gyoza, and he continues to, during which Guy gets angry at Rio because he's like, "How could you be okay with just serving gyoza? I mean, aren't you depressed that you can't be Ryu Ranger anymore?" And Ryu asks Guy, "Well, dude, what matters to you as a hero?" And then later on, at that party, Sakura attacks. Rio attempts to fight off the Zanyak, even though he can't transform, during which he does his unmorphed Ryu Ranger pose, which is awesome. And with Rio fighting, Guy remembers that the real reason why he wanted to become a hero was because he wanted to help people, not just transform. The Gokaigers arrive. They beat Zakura, and they knock Guy's Gokai Cellular out of his stomach, and Guy transforms. The Gokaigers use Die Ranger to defeat Zakura, during the battle, the Gokaigers use the Die Ranger Grand Power. Now, they don't obtain it in this episode, because if you remember correctly, they obtained the Die Ranger Grand Power back during the Gokaiger Goseiger crossover movie. They just haven't used it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And the episode ends on a positive note as Ryu tells Guy to always remember what's the most important when fighting. Now the Die Ranger Grand Power allows Gokaio to summon Kiroku energy, which is like this key energy. It's based heavily off of Chinese mythology. It's basically the energy that gave the Die Rangers their powers, and that he can fire Kiroku energy at the enemies to finish it off. Pretty simple episode. I enjoyed watching this episode again because I actually met Rio's actor at Power Morphicon 2018. He's a very friendly person. In fact, he's a little too into. I get the feeling that he's a little too into Rio because, unlike the other Sentai actors that showed up there who were just wearing normal clothes, he was wearing the clothes that Rio wore in the show, and he wore the toys of his aura changer there. Like, totally awesome guy. I think he's a little too into being Rio, which is fine. I got no problem with that. I mean, in the same way that I have no problem with Melody Perkins and Justin Nimmo showing up dressed up like Astronema and Psycho Silver. I have no objection to that. But yeah, that was awesome. The plot of the episode is pretty standard. Ranger loses their powers, and they have to remember what's most important, not the power, but your determination to fight despite not having powers. I know a certain Power Rangers team that needs to learn that lesson, but we're not going to talk about that.
I'm going to say something.
We don't discuss that team.
Right.
Right.
But I think it was good with Guy. I think he's been Gokai Silver enough to where it might have gone to his head, so it does kind of make sense for him to have to remember that. The one thing that stands out about this episode, and I know this is really subtle, and maybe I'm looking too deep into it, but I really don't care. I love how the Gokaigers are with trying to track down Zakura because, yes, technically the Gokaigers are fighting because they do want to protect the Earth, but every time they run into a monster, they're not. They really. You can get the feeling that maybe a good chunk of the reason why they're fighting is because, there's something personal. Like, I don't know, maybe the monster got in their way while they were treasure hunting, or, this monster did something to Marvelous, or, I don't know, a monster ruined Marvelous's curry or something and he wants revenge. Their reason for going after Sakura is that Zakura has Guy's cellular, and they're even saying, "Yeah, dude, we'll get this back for you." And what I like about that is that I think this gives me the feeling that they've really accepted Guy as one of their own, because even at the end of the episode where he officially joined, they said that he would only be an apprentice. So I get the feeling that they view Guy important enough to them that they're willing to go out of their way to get this monster and try to get his cellular back. I know maybe I'm looking too deep into this, but I just love that. I love how they've grown to accept Guy as one of their own, and they're trying to go out of their way to help him now.
So I don't know what your subtitle copies had, but in my subtitles, they actually call him Pirate Apprentice to reread. So whenever Marvelous comes to help them at the end, he says to him, he says, "Hey, thanks for helping our pirate apprentice, because he is still learning from us and he's one of us now." So that's something that our subtitles had in this version that I had.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing want to comment on a slightly related topic to this episode. Um, I am a huge fan of the Sentai Rangers coming back and being used in the anniversary season. But what makes it even cooler is this return of this Sentai Ranger, who I've never seen Sentai Ranger. Surprise, surprise. Um, but it was really nice to be able to see Ryu um start off kind of like, I can't get involved because I don't have any power. To, you know what, I can't let this kid do it all by himself. And he's genuinely excited, I feel, to be able to reuse that pose. Like, he didn't have to do his pose. He didn't have to say he's so and so from the Die Ranger team. That was all just he wanted to do it, so he did it. And
Mhm.
I thought it was pretty cool that even after all that time, because think about it, for this team, they haven't been a team for about 20 years in canon. So he's still very much attached to it. I think that's really cool to see that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
so my thoughts on the episode. I actually did like this episode too. I only watched a brief bit of Die Ranger, but I do know the character. I do know Ryu, like his character, like, and he did in the show. He did explain that he wanted to, like, open up his own like little restaurant or like some type of food, like some type of food industry thing. So it's cool that he actually achieved his dream. Um, I also like the fact that this perfectly encapsulates what we like about, if the counterpart Power Rangers. Because the Power Rangers, will be times where the Rangers won't have the powers, but they'll still continue forward without them and will continue to fight for their fight even without their powers. And yes, we're talking about that one specific team, but we're not going to mention the team. But yeah, other than that, great episode. It was great to see him again. These actors, such a cool character, just like a cool actor, like cool guy, like Nathan said, and the fact that he still can do the pose, like like he must practice in that mirror every day because even when I try to do the pose, I don't do it correct, like as perfect as he did.
Mhm. The only other thing I want to say is that it's fitting how this is a tribute episode to how this is a centric episode for Guy because according to an interview with Junya Ikeda, who is the actor who plays Guy, um, who's also a big fan of Sentai, by the way. He's very similar to Guy in that regard. Apparently, his favorite Sentai as a kid was Die Ranger, and he always wanted to be Kiba Ranger. So, well, which is funny because in episode 19, when he first gains the ability to connect his to summon Ranger keys from the chest, the first Ranger key he does is Kiba Ranger. I guarantee you, Ikeda made that decision. Um, so that's pretty fitting. I'm not gonna lie. Um,
He became Cuba Ranger a lot of times. If you think about it.
yeah, he has. Um, did you guys have any further thoughts?
No, we're
Nope,
good.
carry on.
All right. Next up is episode 34, Dreams Come True. Oh, wow, we finally get a filler episode here. Thank you. Uh, and it's
Mm-hmm.
Luca-centric.
And we focus episode.
Yeah, revolves around Luca, and you guys know what that means. And for those of you who don't, that means that it's Anthony's turn. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yes, sir. Okay, so in this episode, um, someone from Lucas' past returned, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff that happens, but I kind of want to get to the meat and bones of the thing. What happens in this episode is that while Luca and Don were shopping, I think Bill was with them too. I can't remember if it was all three of them exactly. No, actually no, it was Guy, Luca, and uh, Don were out shopping. Um, they were like looking for something like to eat or whatever, cook. Um, one of them was like, "Oh, we should get broccoli," and Luca was like, "I don't like broccoli. Broccoli's gross. Yeah, get away from me." Um, after they did that, then for their shopping, some Gorman and Gorman try to attack them, but a mysterious man with an incredible amount of money shows up and basically buys off the minions. Just tell them, hey, like, take the money and get out of here. We'll be all good, right? And they just take the money and they leave and they're like, you know what? We'll leave y'all alone today, but next time we're gonna get you. Just you wait. And the guy takes his glasses off, and oh my, Luca knows this person. His name is Kane. They come from the same planet. Um, as we all know, Luca was on a planet, and on a planet she was born with, she was very poor. She was dirt poor. Um, she sadly wasn't able to take care of her sister. Her sister died because she just couldn't get her medical attention, and she's regretted that ever since. She knows this guy Kane because they formed sort of a bond, but it wasn't like a kind of like a relationship. It didn't really feel like a relationship type of thing. So, but I do know he might have feelings for her, and he was trying like to like tell her, hey, you can leave your pirate crew or whatever, come with me. I have money, and I can take care of you. Like just do that. And before she could even really like give him an answer, it turns out that the Kane she was talking to wasn't the real Kane. It was actually a monster, like an action commanded monster in disguise. What this monster can do is that when he puts his forehead against someone else's, he can take the form of that person and mimic them perfectly, like you know vocals, like the looks, the vocals, and Luca gets kidnapped by this monster and is replaced by her. Like, is replaced by him, and he sneaks aboard the Gokai Galleon to trick the Gokaigers into thinking that he is her. And what ends up happening is that the fake Luca um just said, hey, how you doing? Hey, I'm ready to eat. And what we have for dinner, and of course, confused Gokaigers are like, wait, you were with us when we were out shopping. You would know what we had. And she's like, oh, I knew that. And so, what's really, really interesting about this is the fact that the Gokaigers know each other so well that they can pick up on things. And what they notice is that, like, Luca eating broccoli, which is like a no-no. Like they didn't really show that like the Go Hedges were like they didn't like show that what they thought was going on with her. But then like you notice that like everybody was feeding her like she was getting broccoli from like I'm and like just eating the thing like it's candy. And so nighttime falls and the fake Luca ends up planting all these bombs everywhere and is about to like leave the ship and then detonate all the bombs and the Gokai Galleon explodes, or so we think. And then he goes back to where Kane and Luca are, and he tells them, "Oh yeah, I killed your friends while I was using your face. So yeah, so I'm gonna kill you now too. Now just to get rid of make ends meet." But turns out that those guys are just fine. Like you thought that they were gonna die from something like that. Come on now. Like come on. Did you really think they were gonna die like this? No. What ends up happening is that guy finally explains what happens and he tells pretty much the audience and pretty much the monster that um
we knew all along that wasn't Luca because we had suspicions about her when she was aboard the ship and how like she was eating the broccoli, and we know Luca doesn't like broccoli. And once I had fed it to her, that's when they were very sure that it wasn't her. And when the fake Luca was out, up at night planting the bombs or whatever, like I'm and the rest of the gang were already like in on the plan, and they were already like disabling the bombs and stuff like that. And they used Furimaru to create a fake explosion to make it seem like that Gokaigers had died, but they really didn't. And so they free Luca, they all do the Gokai change, and they all fight. Now, again, while fighting this monster, Luca is the monster uses Luca's appearance again in Gokaiger form. So we get a brief moment of seeing those two fight as, using the same costume, but in, just two different people. Guy sees the fake Luca get injured, thinking that it's really her, but he's like, "Oh, like, are you okay, Luca?" And it's actually not her. And so Guy ends up being used as a basis for the monster transforming into him now. And so he ends up attacking the other Gokaigers in Guy's form, and now the Gokaigers are kind of confused on who's who. But cleverly, Luca tells them, "Hey, well, you don't need to do anything else. Just follow my lead." And so they all do the Gokai change, and they all do Mega Ranger, Mega Red, Blue, Black, Pink, Silver, and Yellow. And everybody transforms, but except for the fake. The fake couldn't, Gokai change because he didn't have that, needs to do it. So they end up attacking him using their finishers, Moscow's Giant, of course, and use his ability to change into a building. And of course, they have like sensors for it. It's not even that hard to find the monster, so they just attack it, destroy it. We know that Kane tries to his plea of saying, "Hey, like you should come with me to live with me, and we can be happy together." Blah blah. Blah. She declines. Oh, I forgot one thing. We get Luca's backstory on how she joins the Gokaigers. She sneaks aboard on one of the Zanyak ships, and she's trying to steal some money, and she gets caught. Of course, and then Joe and Marvelous show up, and they take care of like whatever minions that were attacking her or whatever. And they're like, "Oh wow, like you actually got here before we did. I'm actually impressed." Marvelous is like, "Hey, maybe we should join our crew," and she's like, "Nah, no thanks. I'm good. I don't want to join you guys. I'm good." But he's like, "But we're looking for the greatest treasure in the universe," and she's like, "Greatest treasure in the universe? That doesn't exist, you fools. That's just fairy tales." But they're like, "No, it's real. Like it's supposed to be like the greatest treasure in the entire universe." And so Luca's like, if this is the greatest treasure in the universe, which means that it's more than everything in the entire galaxy. Her actual dream is to buy the entire universe. It's crazy, but that's what she wants. And, I hope that's the dream she can fulfill. But that was a little smaller detail I forgot to mention during my take of the episode. But after she tells her goodbyes to Kane, the episode just ends with her just walking away. That's it.
Yeah, so this episode is pretty good. It's a pretty good character episode for Luca. A little quick fun fact here: the guy who plays Kine, Luca's friend, he actually had a big role on Kamen Rider Double. He was
You know what?
he was
Yeah, it was DN's actor, right?
huh?
Was it DN's actor
No.
or somebody else?
It was a different guy. He played a Kurihiko, who was like a villain in the show for well, not really a villain.
Right.
Kind of weird. So it was and Double came out before Gokaiger, so this is him afterwards. So that's pretty cool.
Right.
Just wanted to point that out. Yeah, I think Luke. This is pretty good. You know, we got hints on what Luca's character was like, and how she has this big dream. Um, you know, I think it was back in like episode 6. I think so. Yeah, this is a pretty good. This is basically the peak of Luca's story, and as far as the peak is concerned, I think it's pretty good. I don't think there's anything else I can say other than that it's really good. Say again, Anthony?
I'm sorry. No, you're good. Sorry about that. I had to get my headset back on.
Were you going to say something?
No.
Okay, what about you, Riz? Riz? Hmm.
Oh, I think he said he'll be right back. Yeah, be right back. Oh,
Sorry, we're experiencing technical difficulties here. But I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know why my Discord decided to change the audio on me. But
Well, that's weird.
okay, cool. You can hear me. Yeah, I was gonna say, regarding this episode, you guys have already said everything that needs to be said. Luca's amazing. The story is amazing. I have no complaints with it. So carry on, Nate.
yeah. But I will say this though, before anyone says anything. Yes, this was another episode that could have been adapted to Power Rangers, but they didn't, and I'm still mad to this day they didn't. Because this would have been a perfect episode to adapt.
Anthony, they did my wife dirty.
I know.
Oh,
See,
that's
here's my thing. Okay, here's what they could have done. This could have been an episode where like, oh, this monster of the day decides, hey, I'm gonna try to pretend to be one of the Rangers so I can trick them and have them fight against each other, or whatever. And so he sees Gia, turns into Gia, tricks the Rangers are thinking that she's her, blah blah blah. But like they know some things are different with this one. She's not acting the same way as she did before. Because for one, she could be like all into Jake when clearly that wasn't how she was at the beginning of the show.
oh my
And
god,
that
that
could
was
be
perfect.
That'd been hilarious.
yes. And then they would have been like, "You're not Gia," and then Jake would have immediately noticed it because he knows everything about Gia because that's his crush. So he would know more about what she actually is than anybody else.
That needs to be a thing. Quick,
It's just
go back in
a
time.
tragedy.
Hmm?
Maybe I could. Maybe when I do my little super mega force thing, I could do an episode like that.
Please do it, please.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, because unlike other things that I write, I try to only work with what the Sentai gives me. So that'd be perfect, you know?
Indeed.
Well, anyway, we're going to move on to the next two-part episode. We got a lot of two-part episodes in this video. Um, it's a Go Onger tribute episode. Now, Anthony, have you seen Go Onger?
Yes, all the way through.
Okay, good. Both Anthony and I have seen Go Onger all the way through. Go Onger was adapted into Power Rangers RPM. And seeing as we've both seen Go Onger, both Anthony and I are going to do commentary on episodes. So, Anthony, if you will please do episode 35, Dimension on the Other Side, please.
Alrighty. In this particular episode, we actually get the return of the machines from Go Onger, three main ones. You see Speedor,
Anthony?
Bear, can you hear me? Hello?
I hear him.
Anthony, you cut out. We can't hear you.
You don't hear Anthony?
I can hear, yeah, he can hear me. Well, Riz can hear me, but I can't hear, like, Nate can't hear me apparently.
Nathan, do you
Okay,
hear me?
while we're working on that, I'll just try to fill in for Anthony here for a brief second. So episode 35 is called Dimension on the Other Side. As the episode begins, the Gokaiger, there's a big crack in a barrier right above the Gokai Galleon, and the Gokaigers meet up with a rabbit-like robot named Bomper. Bomper is more and Anthony? I'm sorry, I just had
Yeah,
difficulty.
Hey, do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool.
can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay, that was weird because like I was talking the whole time and Riz can the only person who can hear me.
Yeah, I just got kicked off of Discord briefly, real quick. We apologize for all our listeners back home. The technical difficulties that we're having here, but they appear to have been resolved. So, yeah, Anthony, you continue.
So as the Gokai Galleon crew has lunch, a dimensional hole opens up and the sky falls from it. Uh, Vomper, the robot that you see from Gawanger, makes his return and tells the Gokaigers what's going on and why he's there, blah blah. blah. And then they actually go see Sosuke, who's the original Go on Red from Go Oners. He's actually a race car driver right at the moment. That's what he's doing as he's not being a Gokaiger right now. And Bumper explains as why he's there, and but kept oh actually no before that uh he tells like we get a kind of a backstory of why Bumper's there because apparently the engines Speedor, Buzz-On, and Bear RV have already tried to stop this guy member called Shira Kaczynski.
Let's just call him. Wait, hold on. I got his name noted down here. Just call him Chiraka, because okay.
Chiraka.
For
Yeah,
the,
Chiraka.
let me just say this right now. Go Onger, I love you. Stop giving your villains complicated names. Stop. Okay.
It was so annoying, especially
I love
the
you, Go
one that
His
Onger.
got it
name will not be Bob. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
because because you as you remember in RPM the Vengeance finally gets a robot form they can walk around in and fight the Rangers in. That robot that was used appeared in was first
Go
appeared in
Onger.
Go Onger as a very long complicated name. I'm not gonna even try to pronounce it because it's very long and I can't even remember saying it like.
I can't
But
even
yeah,
remember.
it's that bad.
Just stop with
It's
the
that bad.
big names.
It's just
Okay.
really ridiculous.
All right,
But
let's
so
continue.
anyway,
Sorry about that little tangent.
so anyway, basically a surviving member of the Gaia arc attacked the well, actually was trying to like I remember that those three engines were trying to stop um Chira from attacking this one world, which is I think the Western world I think it's called.
The Gunman world.
Or gun world. I think Gunman world. Which is based kind of like based off like a Western looking world basically. Um, they were defeated, and Sosuke asked the Gokaigers like, "Hey, can you help me get to Gunman world so I can help my engine friends out?" Captain Marvel's like, "I'm not doing that crap. No." And they're claiming that they would not get anything from it. And it's like, and particularly they have already received a bunch of great power, as you know from the movie, where they fought against and alongside the Gokaigers. So they're like, we got the grand power already, so we don't really need to do anything else. Bye. But Sasuke decides to go by himself after like very poor attempts to try to reach the whole marvelous and others appear. And he says that he will help them out, help Sasuke ride if he wants to. And the group travels to the Gunman world where they save some citizens from the group of Ugats. Ugats are like the minions of the guy. They are also the grinders from RPM,
Yep.
as they're called. Yep. They eventually catch up to Speedor, Buzzon, and their RV, and Sosuke finds out that Bear RV and Speedor are not only married, but they have a kid. Now, when we did this episode review for Super Mega Force, when they did this episode, we had made this very funny but very kind of like juvenile, um, like picture for like the episode or whatever, and
Yeah.
and we literally had like Speedor and like Bear
There
RV
are
basically like just doing let's just say they were doing very lots of hugging. Lots of hugging. That's all I can say.
Well,
And
actually, no. I'll give a better explanation. But first off, in case you're wondering who the engines are, Speedor and Bear RV, you'll remember in RPM their Zords were like animal and car hybrids. Well, in the Sentai, those things were living things, like they could talk, and this is them. But in case you want to know how Speedor and Bear RV were able to make a child. Well, so the Goander's main mech is called Ingeno, and in that formation, Speedor is on top of Bear RV. Let's just say that Speedor was probably doing a little bit more than he should have been doing every time they formed Ingeno.
get in gear.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That joke had to be made. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that was our funniest video we made. That I still to
Yeah.
this day remember it. Oof, good times, good times.
Yeah. And their son's name is Mach Alkin, and he's like a hybrid between a Falcon and a Formula race car. So yeah.
Go
Sorry,
figure.
Anthony. Continue.
No, you're good. You're good. Basically, Mock Falcon, he's kind of a dick. If we want to be clear here, he's very reckless and he just loves driving around, causing chaos wherever he drives around. Um, he just rather like go around and like race around, Machine World than help his parents out. Um, I know the review was cut short because Chira returns. Actually, no, Chira challenges the Gohaji to a duel. Marv was, of course, upset exits the duel, and despite all the dirty tricks that the monster does, Chira is defeated by the Gokaigers.
I take off points
However,
from this duel because they don't play the good, the bad, and the ugly. during the duel?
No, they don't. They really could have played that.
They
That would
should have
have
totally
been
done
very
that.
good. I don't know why they didn't. It was like perfect setting for it too.
Yeah.
But oh well. Let's see. During their battle with the enlarged Shira, the Gokaigers try to use the greater power of the Gokaigers, but nothing happens at all. Like just put their keys in and just nothing. Like, and despite their difference of power, they managed to take Shira with their own power and learn that Shira had only joined the guard due to how cool the name sounded. Hey, talk about motivation. Hey, say what you will about about villains, but at least this one had a actually non like a non like just evil being evil reason. He just wanted to join it because it's
Yeah.
and so when Pirates confronts Sasuke about why the reason the greater power is not working, they were about to say something, but then all of a sudden, uh, at least his name is not easier to pronounce. Babachi, the new leader of the Yard, who reveals that um, he merely used a cheer to lure the Gokaigers into the Gunner world, and by seeing a wall between dimensions, the Gokaigers are now trapped and are unable to enter the human world, leaving the Guard to be able to go to the human world and attack it. And now they have to rely on Falcon to help get them back because he's the only one that has the power to like break through dimensions because
Yeah.
Speedor and crew are too weakened from the last battle.
And that leads us to the second part of Partner Pirate. And I'll take care of this if you don't mind, Anthony.
Not at all.
By the way, Bapachido, so his suit was used for Professor Cog in Power Rangers. Except in Power Rangers, even though Professor Cog was destroyed in that crossover movie between RPM, well, sort of RPM and Samurai, they give no explanation for why he's back in Super Mega Force. But here, it's not the same person. It's just a machine that just happens to look like another machine. So it's fine.
Like, here's how they could have fixed it. They could have just said, "Oh, it's a good thing I had a backup body. Otherwise, I might have been destroyed for good." That's all they had to say. They're making these complicated without no reason. Go
Super
on,
Mega
but you
Force.
just go on.
What are we ever going to do for
You late like I think Lacar said it best. It's bizarre, lazy writing. Like,
Mhm.
mm,
So anyway, the
let's
Gokaigers
get
are
on.
trapped in the gunman world. They can't break through the dimensional barrier because the engines are too weak. So they decide to go to the machine world where they can find Mach Alkin since he hasn't been fighting. So therefore, he would have enough power to break through the barrier. Meanwhile, Bapachito and his Uggats begin attacking the human world, and in a very funny change of events, the Zanyak are all like, "Wait a minute, we want to conquer the human world." So we get a scene where you have Gorman and Uggats fighting each other. That's awesome. I don't think
Right.
we've seen two opposing foot soldiers fighting each other. The only time I can recall is in the last episode of Zeo when the Cogs were battling the Tengas, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Power
Yeah.
Rangers. So, anyway, so the Gokaigers arrive in the machine world, and they have to chase around Mach Galkin for a little bit. And after we go through a big chase, which ends with Marvelous kind of, stopping Mach Galkin, what they do is that they kind of stun him and then use Gokaio to kind of tame him like he's an animal with a chain, like he's a horse. Mach Galkin basically admits that he was jealous because his parents were always heroes and he never had anything to fight for. So Marvelous is all like, okay, well then how about you fight with us? And Mock Alkin agrees, and he becomes the Gokaigers' partner. Mock Alkin helps the Gokaigers break through the barrier. They re-enter the human world. The Gokaigers arrive. There's a very subtle thing that foreshadows to the next episode where Joe and Barizorg acknowledge each other because Barizorg and Joe have a thing going on. The Gokaigers transform into Goanger to battle Baba Cheeto and the Gorman and Uguts. They defeat him. And then the Gokaigers are able to use the Goanger Grand Power to summon Mock Alkin whenever they want. And they can combine Mock Alkin to form Goan Gokaio, where they simply detach their legs and the body of Gokaio attaches to the Mock Alkin, which is pretty cool. Mock Alkin promises.
This wasn't my favorite formation either, to be honest with you. Sorry, I had to say that.
Yeah, it's okay. We'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Mock Alkin promises that he'll help the Gokaigers from now on. Then he returns to the machine world. And the episode ends on a really funny note with Sosuke asking if he can join the Gokaigers, if he can be Gokai Fire, but they just walk away like, no. And then the episode ends. So before I talk about how much I like this episode, I'm just going to say this right now. All you Sentai fans, I don't care what you say. I know Goanger is hated by most fans. I don't care. I love Goanger. It's amazing. If you want to sue me, come at me. I don't care. Okay? Just sue me.
These views are the property of Nathan and only Nathan. Anime Secrets takes no fault for these lawsuits that may come or may not come.
I take them on by myself. I don't care. I love Goanger. Okay? Is it stupid? Oh, does it have stupid elements? Sure. Is it over the top? Yeah. Is it silly? Is it overly silly? Yes. And that's what I love about it. It's awesome. So I don't care. I don't care that I like this show.
I like it. I thought it was funny.
And I thought this
but
episode.
I also like RPM though. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. I like RPM.
Let you say your piece, and then I'll say whatever I need to say afterwards.
And as far as a tribute episode is concerned, I like this. It really just captures all the things that make Goanger awesome. Like Speedor and Bear RV inexplicably having a child. That only Goanger would do something like that. And I love it. The whole the Zanyak and Gaiark fighting each other, and then, the Zanyak abandoning the Gorman, and then the Gorman, trying to watch the battle with Bapachi, and one of the Gorman be like, yeah, go Gaiark, and then Bapachi just like, man, what you doing? Get in that battle. It's funny. It fully encapsulates all the funny elements that made Goanger. And I love it. It's awesome. This is a great tribute episode. And if you haven't seen Goanger, screw what the rest of the fans say. It is awesome, and you need to watch it.
Indeed.
And that's all I'm going to say. Anthony?
Like I said, I really enjoyed this two-parter. Is that someone who's watched not RPM. Goanger all the way through, which I watched both. I can say, hey, this is a really good tribute episode. I'm not really a fan of the whole detaching legs to form legs for the, I guess, falcon formation, but I mean, it's not bad, not terrible, but I just wish they could have done something different. But I mean, what can you do with the freaking vehicle as the legs? I mean, I don't think they could probably do anything better than this. So, but I will say I like both Goanger and RPM for their own ways. I'm not gonna say that Gokaigers is better than RPM. I'm not gonna say RPM is better than Gokaigers. They're both separate creations in my perspective because they're two very different series altogether. I will treat them as two different series
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, yeah, other shows have been adapted, but this one feels like RPM did its own thing, and Gokaigers is its own thing itself. So it's kind of unfair to be like, oh, I think RPM is better than the Gokaigers or Gokaigers is better than RPM. Like, no, it's two different creations altogether. And if you want to do a comparison, that's fine. But like, just say that, in my personal opinion, I don't think that one's better than the other. That's my personal opinion. So that's all I gotta say about that.
So Riz is the only one here who hasn't seen Gokanger. What did you think?
I really enjoyed that a lot more than I thought I would. It was interesting to see like a whole different take on Sentai where they're traveling between dimensions and they have a partner system with these little robot things. I thought really cool. And yeah, this is another one I'd probably want to check out pretty soon, Nate. Just FYI.
Good.
Given you're
Because who
making a
cares
list of
what
what
the
I'm watching
fan base
next.
is? Wait, what?
Given you're making a list of what I'm watching.
Cool.
Yep.
All right, well, we're going to be wrapping up this review with another two-part episode. Now, I'm going to take care of the first part, and then all three of us are going to take a look at the second part. Yeah, we've covered quite a bit. It's getting pretty late, but I think we're all enjoying ourselves.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to start off with the first part, episode 37, The Strongest Fighting Machine. As this episode begins, the Gokaigers are battling against giant Sugorman, and they defeat them all. They summon Mach Alkin to help them, and then Mach Alkin asks the Gokaigers if they have a grand power, but they don't know. The Gokaigers are a little confused, although Luca has suggested that they thought that the Gokaiger grand power was just Gokaio, but they can't explain. Meanwhile, on the Zangyak ship, they get visited by a purple-colored ship that's from the Emperor's Elite Guard. And inside the ship, the Zangyak get help in the form of two Do Gorman. Do Gorman look like Sue Gorman, except they're colored red, and they actually have arms, and they use these spears. They're the soldiers of the Emperor's Elite Guard, so they're kind of like those Imperial Guards from Star Wars, the ones that wear the red armor. And they also bring a robot called the Great Warzu, which is a giant robot that's the Zanyak's ultimate fighting machine, and Warzu Gil declares that he'll use this to defeat the Gokaigers. Now, meanwhile, aboard the galleon, the Gokaigers are kind of having a bit of an argument since Guy insists that they're protecting people. Marvelous says that they're just trying to stop the Zanyak now, but, he feels a little bothered but when Guy uses the word protect, although Guy is a little confused. Now, aboard the Zangyak ship, we are shown in a flashback that Warzugil wants to destroy the Gokaigers himself because he wants to prove that he is better than his father, Actoskill, who is the emperor of the entire Zangyak. And we're shown in a flashback, we're shown Actoskill assigning Damaris to accompany Warzugil because he doesn't think that his son can do it by himself, so he wanted Damaris to help him out, and feeling like he wants to prove that he's better than his father, Warzugil says that he'll defeat the Gokaigers. Barizorg, who's of course blindly loyal to him, agrees to help him. So after a brief scene where Joe and Guy talk about Marvelous and how Joe reveals that Marvelous takes the word protect pretty literally because Akka Red was always protecting him for the Zangyak. Um, and Joe also reveals that the Zangyak always wins in the end because, they've destroyed everyone's homeworld. And even Marvelous, Akka Red, and Bosco, when they were the Akaki pirates, they still they won. They won every battle, but they still lost in the end. But even then, Guy vows that he's still going to protect the Earth. Barizorg ambushes the Gokaigers, and they get forced into battle. Joe has a big one-on-one duel with Barizorg, vowing that he's going to save Sid's soul, but Barizorg just doesn't even acknowledge that. The other Gokaigers battle against the Dugormen, during which for the first time we see the Gokaigers use Bosco's old extra Hero Ranger keys. Marvelous becomes Walzard Fire. Luca becomes Zuban, during which she kind of plays along like she's constantly saying like zoom zoom, which is pretty funny.
This was why I was asking earlier, by the way.
Yeah, I figured that.
Mhm.
Don becomes Signalman. I him was Deca Swan, and Guy becomes the Black Knight. And by the way, I've always wondered how Guy is able to transform into Black Knight because there's no Black Knight button on his cellular. I always wondered how he would do that. But anyway, so the Gokaigers defeat the Dugormen. Joe goes even-handed with Barizorg, but before they can finish the fight, Warzugil appears, vowing that he'll destroy the Gokaigers. He summons the Great Warzu. The Gokaigers, of course, summon Gokaio and Gojujin and try to use Mach Alkin and their other grand powers to fight off the Great Warzu, but it proves to be too powerful. The Gokaigers also try to use Goju Gokaio. And by the way, this is the only other time we're ever going to see that, because that shows just how useless that mech is.
Very useless.
Yeah.
Very useless.
They're still overpowered. And the Great Warzu has Goju Gokaio cornered, and Marvelous realizes, okay, I guess this is it. This is where we lose to the Zangyak and we die. He decides that he's going to die so that the other Gokaigers can be protected. So he ejects them from the Gokai Galleon, and the episode ends with the Great Warzu blowing the Gokai Galleon away, and it crashes into the forest. And Warzugil is laughing at his victory while Marvelous is lying down in the galleon's cockpit. He's basically unconscious, and the other 5 Gokaigers who have been split up have to go out and find him, and that's how the part 1 ends. Now, that leads us to the final episode we're going to be covering before we wrap up this video. Episode 38, The Power to Seize Dreams. Now, Rizwan, if you want to cover some of this episode, that would be good, since you haven't been able to cover much today. We apologize for that. Go ahead.
There we go. The mute button decided to hate me. So, the two-parter. We're doing part 2 now. So, like Nate said, the Gokaigers are now separated with Don, Luca, and him together. Zoe and Guy are on the other side, on their own, doing their own thing. And they're all rushing to the forest to find Marvelous because, well, they think Marvelous needs help. And at the same time, Warza Gil has told Barizorg, go bring me the Gokaigers' bodies. I want to see them dead in my hands. And while they're looking for Marvelous and the Gokai Galleon and what they're going to do, the Gokaigers must be really careful in how to go through the forest, because the Zanyak are out and about looking for them because Wards Guild told them to, and they are being really careful. Meanwhile, Zoe does find Barzark, who he has made a deal that he with himself that he needs to take care of Barzark himself and take him out. And they engage in another duel. And while they're in a duel, Guy meets the other three Gokaigers, and he starts to realize what Marvelous meant by protect, given what he did for them. And Guy is really emotional, and he says, "But I didn't want Marvelous to protect. I wanted instead for all of his friends to fight together, as we said we fight together as a team. But Marvelous took it on himself to assume that he needed to be a protector and not a fellow team fighter." So, cutting back to the Barzark Zoe fight, Zoe and Barzark are still locked in the duel, and Zoe vows that he'll keep fighting for Marvelous to repay him for risking his life for him, declaring he will win and he will not die, while carrying such a huge debt. And this energizes Zoe to the point where he walks through the attack from Barzark before deflecting another. But in the process of deflecting that attack, he does de-Henson or de-transform, I guess, and he is able to defeat Barzark by using some techniques of the sword and destroys him. And I want to pass this back to one of y'all to continue, since we are sharing this.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
I think what else happens is that Marvelous, while still unconscious, by the way, uh, is having a hallucination, or like not maybe not hallucination, but like he basically reunites with Red in a dream sequence where he's reminded by his former mentor what it meant to be a pirate, and he's like, "You do realize that the crew that you're with is not the same crew of the Aqua Red Pirates. We're not like they're not the same thing. Like you shouldn't be treating your teammates like how I treated y'all, you and Bosco, where I sacrificed myself to save you, but I didn't want you to go and do the same thing I did. You should have trusted your teammates enough to be able to tell things. Either you all die together, or you just, you know, stick it out to the end. You know, it shouldn't be like you didn't get to decide to sacrifice yourself to save your crew. You should allow your crew to make the choice for themselves. Basically, is what he said. Um, and he's telling like, just follow your dream and just make sure you're there for your crew, and don't selfishly think that you have to fight the battles by yourself. Let your crew take on what they can take on, with or without you. And he wakes up and reactivates the Galleon. But before that happens, I think him and Navi kind of have like a heart to heart, because even though he and Navi don't really see eye to eye on a lot of things, they still care about each other, because like when he wakes up, he's thinking, "Oh my God, I thought you were dead. If you had died, I would only forgive you." Blah blah blah. So it was like a cute little scene that happened, and he's like, "I'm not gonna die, not that easily, no." And Joe regroups with Luca, Doc, and I'm and Guy, but they're
Wait,
surrounded by.
Anthony, you left something out.
What did I leave out?
Um, sorry to like interject, but I'd like to briefly talk about this.
No, you're good. Yeah, you can go ahead and talk about it. You can go ahead and
Joe
talk about
is
it.
Joe is crying because Barry Zorg is dead, and he's mourning the loss of Sid. But then he gets approached by a vision of Sid, and Sid assures Joe that he did save his soul, and then tells him that he's become stronger, thanks to the bond that he has with his fellow Gokaigers, and tells Joe to never let go of that bond. And and then he tells Joe to go and find his friends, and Joe nods and he runs off, and he doesn't look back. He basically just kind of looks away from Sid and never looks back. But as Sid's spirit vanishes, Joe says thank you to Sid for everything that he's done, which is a touching moment. The music in that moment is amazing. Yeah, that was all. I'm sorry.
No, you actually can go ahead because I want y'all to take over.
Okay. Um, so basically, Warzugil hears that Barizorg is dead, so he sends the rest of his forces out to go defeat the Gokaigers. All the Gokaigers come together. Marvelous apologizes to the Gokaigers for only thinking about protecting them, and they promise that they'll fight together from now on. They all come together and they destroy the Dugormen and they defeat all of the Zonyak's forces. Warzugil shows up with the Great Warzu, and he once again just absolutely wails on the Gokaigers. He basically cuts down all their grand powers. But even though the Gokaigers are cornered, they still remain strong, and they vowed that they're going to continue to fight no matter what they can do, no matter what Warzugil does, and he can't defeat them. And they say that they won't stop until they've seized their dream. And after this big speech, their Gokaiger Ranger keys start to glow. What could this mean? Because usually when Ranger keys glow, that means that they've unlocked a grand power, but it's the Gokaiger Ranger keys. Well, here's what happens. They're able to use their own grand power to combine Gokaio, Gojujin, and Makauken together to create their ultimate mech, Kanzen Gokaio. Which we're going to talk about. I have mixed feelings about this mech, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Kanzen Gokaio pretty much just wails all over the Great Warzu, pretty much just walking through it like it's nothing. They defeat the Grey Warzu and it explodes while Warzugil is still inside and he gets killed. The Gokaigers celebrate their victory. Guy thinks that since they have a grand power, that means that they're an official Super Sentai. Navi mocks Marvelous a little bit, and Marvelous starts trying to chase her around. And the episode ends as Damaris carries Warzu's burned body out of the Great Warzu, and he looks up at the Gokai Galleon and vows vengeance. And that's how this episode ends. The first thing I want to say is that this episode is probably you can almost kind of look at this episode as like a Gokaiger tribute episode, because here's the interesting thing. Aside from the 6th Ranger spirits appearing in Guy's gold mode, when he uses his finisher in gold mode, we don't see any past Sentai Rangers this episode. This is the first time where, whether it be a Ranger Key clone or a Gokai change, this is the first episode where it's the Gokaigers themselves with no past Rangers involved. And that's awesome. I really like that element. Now, I'll talk more about Kanzen Gokaio in a little bit once I've allowed these other guys to give their thoughts. But as far as this episode is concerned, it's awesome. I think that it really, just revolving around all the Gokaigers, it's just totally cool.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Overall, I really enjoy the final confrontation between Joe and Gaisorg. The fact that Joe was able to deal the final blow without even being transformed just shows you how not only badass this guy is, but also how strong he is. Because Barzor was a tough cookie to fight. So this wasn't no easy thing, and he was able to do that much to him. And I'm just like, wow, he he really showed his stuff, and Sid was right. He did get stronger. I've noticed it. And overall, I did like the final confrontation between the Gokaigers and Wall's Guild, as and it really goes to show you that like even though like Guy Sword was really more or less just a like puppet for like Wall's Guild to use, the fact that he got that upset about losing his subordinate kind of like shows maybe in his own twisted way he did care about him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I probably overthinking things, but like, you don't get that upset over just a minute, You even like, oh well, I'll just move on. I'll just give me somebody else to be my subordinate. But he cared about him that much to get that upset about him, so I guess he meant something to him. But overall, I enjoyed the episode, and I like the fact that like Marvelous was able to like talk to his former leader about things, and like just everything about this episode was actually just really good overall. Yep.
So I'm gonna give a quick brief thought because Anthony and Nathan have covered this really well once again. So this is a great episode. I do agree with Nathan. This is probably the closest you'll ever get to a Gokaiger tribute. I mean, it's not officially listed as one, but it sure as hell might as well just be one. Yeah, so I thought it was well done, but I do want to talk about that stupid Megazord that we got in this one. I don't. So Nate, you don't like this one, but
I
you
don't.
complain more about the other one a lot more.
I don't either. Like I don't like either one of them. I think they're not. Useless, but
in the episodes prior to the Goanzer tribute, we start to see a trend with the Gokaigers, and we see this trend all throughout until now. So whenever they get a new grand power, that's a auxiliary Zord related thing.
Yeah.
It's like they forget they had something before that they could alternate back and forth with. So once you get the Hurricanes their auxiliary Zord, you forget about the Gyro Ranger auxiliary Zord and the Decker Ranger auxiliary Zord and all the other ones.
Yeah, it's like they were using Maji Dragon and Pat Striker a lot, but then when they got the Shinkenger Grand Power that allowed them to combine with Gao Lion, they stopped using that. Then they got Furai Maru. Then all of a sudden they stopped using all of those and just started using Furai Maru all the time.
Yeah, and I don't like that. It bugs me. And see, right here, the Gokaigers have their grand power. This is optimal time to create some interesting Ultra Zord configuration involving everything. And they wasted it making this garbage instead.
Yeah.
I actually didn't mind this one. I actually like this one more. I like the Gozu Gokaio. To be honest with you.
But see, Anthony, it's not like I don't mind the Megazord in principle. It's not like it's badly designed, in my opinion. I mean, it has some things I don't like about it, but I'm calling up more to missed opportunity to make an Ultra Zord that was like more using everything.
Well, there's a lot of so we didn't really describe how this whole thing works. Basically, it's that so none of the main Gokai machines aside from the Galleon are involved in this. Like Gokaio loses both its arms and legs. It only gets Gojujin's arms again, and Mach Galkin kind of becomes armor for it. So again, I refer everyone to my rant a little while ago about my issue with Goju Gokaiyo. Um, Here's the problem I have with Kanzen Gokaiyo, and it's kind of similar to what Riz was saying. Even when Gokaiger was airing, and I don't know what Final Sentai mechs look like nowadays, but even when Gokaiger was airing, this is the era of the over-cluttered, crazy, like cluster effer mechs for the final mech. Like this is the era of what the RPM Ultrazord was, or G12 formation, or
Right.
Samurai Hao, or the Samurai Gigazord if you're a Power Rangers fan. Where it's like you take all the Zords and you just clump them all together in really ridiculous, but in the same way, really fun looking combinations. I mean, I have both G12 formation and Samurai Hao at my house, and I love playing around with those. Those things, do they look ridiculous because of all like the assorted parts put together? Sure, but does it look intimidating? Yeah, and it looks awesome. I don't feel that way about Gokaiyo. I mean, Kanzen Gokaiyo. Maybe it looks a little bit more like it looks more just from like a design perspective, like it's meant to be like the mid-season combination. Like this is like Mach splitting up into pieces and becoming armor for Gokaiyo. That's what Gojujin should have done for Goju Gokaiyo. Um, you know, that's what Kansen Gokaiyo looks like. It doesn't look like it should be the final Megazord. It should be like a mid-season mech, and then for the ultra, final formation, give like some big mecha formation that's like a combination between Gokaiyo, Gojujin, Mach Alkin, Magi Dragon, Pad Striker, all those things. You know, because then you have an Ultra Zord that's representative of all the Sentais that you've brought together. So this is just I agree with Riz. It's a massive wasted opportunity. I mean, it is a sad. It's real. Like I'll talk more about this because at some point I'm planning to do a video series where I talk about like the history of Power Rangers / Sentai mecha lines. I'm going to be starting from the Zordon era and then just kind of splitting it up between like the Zordon era, the post Zordon Saban era, Disney. You get the idea.
Yeah.
I'll go into more details about that and like what and how I without doing that. But I'm just gonna say that like it's a really sad day when like the best mecha formations as far like that I remember are the ones where like after Hurricane Gokaiyo, like Hurricane Gokaiyo and Furai Maru looks good. Everything after that is just one big nosedive and it just explodes.
Yeah.
Like I love you, Gokaiger, but you had this amazing opportunity and you just blew it with your mech. And that's all I wanted to say. Anything else?
No,
I'm
that's it, my
good.
piece.
I'm ready to do final thoughts.
So a lot just happened. We got a lot of grand powers, new ranger keys, and things are about to take a wild turn because one of the main villains is dead now. Well, actually two, but the main boss was dead. I would say that Gokaiger's definitely evolving.
Mhm.
We've we already have two story arcs that have concluded. Like Joe's whole story with with Bari Zorg is basically over. We're not going to get anything else with Luca because we already know her story and everything.
Mhm.
So that means that can't wait to see what the future holds for Don, I am, for Don and I am. I already know what's going to happen, but I'm still looking forward to taking a look at those episodes. So, yeah, I don't really have much else thoughts. I mean, I just think that this batch of episodes was a great. The story is definitely evolving.
Yeah, this is probably the strongest batch we reviewed so far, in my opinion.
They're
It
knocking out the park.
it didn't. So it had filler in that there's one episode that just didn't deal with anything like a tribute episode, but at the same time, even that episode was not truly filler in that we learn more about Luca, we learn more about her past. So it's a great character development story. There's nothing just like a bullshit thing where nothing was really being improved or just progressed. And in this set, we either we learned something with a character, we saw the character evolve, or we saw a tribute to an older team. And this batch episodes we just reviewed, it does all that, and it does it well. I don't think there's a single bit here that I dislike, minus the Zord just kind of sucking, but that's not the fault of the story or the plot. That's the fault of people who don't know how to make a toy.
Yep.
So those are my thoughts. I'm looking forward to the next iteration of this because I'm really enjoying Gokaiger. It's my favorite thing in the world, and also it's fun to be back doing this again, like consistently.
Yep.
So yeah.
You got anything to say, Anthony?
Overall, I really enjoyed these batch of episodes. I think out of all of them, I really like the Power Ranger tribute, and I really like all the two bars really for both Goanger and for the battle against Walsgillen Barzorg. Those were fun. Oh, and also the episodes with the Goanger and finding out how what Bosco truly looks like.
Yep.
Because he really showed that like he's not some pushover. He can really like seriously mess someone up.
Well, what does the future hold with the Gokaigers in their battle against Bosco? Well, we'll find out next time. So anything else, guys?
I'm good to roll.
I'm good too.
Okay, well, that wraps up this video. We thank you guys for watching. We're going to be taking a break next week because as of the recording of this video, next weekend is Thanksgiving weekend, and we're going to be taking a little bit of time off. But then after that, we're going to come back to we're going to be doing as far as the schedule. The next time when we come back in 2 weeks, we're going to be reviewing Gokaigers episodes 39 through 48. And then after that, we'll be reviewing the final 3 episodes of Gokaiger, which is like, their final in-game arc. And yeah, and then we'll basically be done with this, and then we'll be moving on to our next Sentai. We're not going to reveal which unless I've already revealed in a previous video. I can't remember, but we definitely hope that you guys will check that out. Other than that, we once again thank you guys for watching. We hope you guys will, if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe and leave a comment down below with anything you'd like to see covered, and we'll definitely look into that. Be sure to check us out on Spotify and iTunes as well. We're actually pretty popular on iTunes, at least. Also, be sure to check us out on our main website, animesecrets.org, and all of our social media pages, such as Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And other than that, we hope you guys enjoyed this. We once again thank you for joining us on this treasure hunt. We only got 2 more little tasks to do before we finally hit the treasure. So just bear with us, guys. We're getting pretty close, and we're definitely having a good time. We hope that you guys are too. So we are Toku Secrets, and we will see you guys next time. Later.